Well, it feels good to be back in this here saddle, boys.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you. It's been a couple weeks, man. It's been about a month, right?
Not to the listeners, though. They don't know the difference.
Yeah, but...
They do now.
They do now. We just told our little secret.
He just told them.
I mean, it don't matter.
Y'all been slacking is what they just
They
heard.
can think whatever they want. We've been crushing
We've
it.
been crushing it. And on that note, real quick, too, like I am excited for the day that comes where we can just run them all back to back, no problem, and just spit them out. So for everyone that's now listening to the little secret we just dropped, we've been bulk recording these. So like the first 6 were all done almost within like 10 days of each other, which was nuts. So it's almost like we're shooting seasons at a time here. So we're on season 2, I guess, starting with you right now.
Yeah, it kind of does feel like season 2.
Yeah.
Just because it's deer season.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of got the little itch.
Yeah,
I don't know about... I do.
I do.
I don't know where your itch is, but mine's for deer hunting.
Same. My bow's just broken right now, so I can't.
How long's it been broken?
Since last bow season.
Really?
I went out to target practice, and I drew back, and one of the arms cracked.
Yikes.
Like while I was drawing back.
That's not good.
And Tyler just spilt his spittoon everywhere.
Oh, there's a napkin in it.
But yeah,
leave it right here.
it cracked like mid drawback, and I heard it like. I was like, oh,
That bow's old. You need some new limbs. You need more than new limbs.
I just need a new bow, but I don't have the.
It's not the best investment. I mean, if you have like $2,000 extra laying around, then
Yeah, and the thing is I want to buy like a good one, and maybe that's just like the spoiled brat.
No.
Dude, Hoyt has PSE's new bow is freaking.
I heard it was.
So awesome.
I was looking at Matthews the other day, and they were like starting at $1,200.
Yeah, they're good. They're just, you have to take them in to get worked on. I think PSE, Hoyt. Well, I know for sure Elite because I have an Elite. I work on it at home.
Yeah.
But that is very nice. Like if you have a buddy that can do something, it's like, hey, bro, will you do this? Instead of having to take it to Franklin or wherever and wait 2 weeks to get your bow back.
The other thing is I've never had a new bow. The bow that I had was one that I've had it since I was probably like 14 or 15. I just had it forever, and I never had the money to buy like a brand new bow, so I just used what I had, and I've never killed a deer with a bow, so maybe that is part of the problem.
Probably.
Yeah.
But that bow is ancient, man. We'll get you a new one.
Yeah. We'll get around to it.
If I'm not using mine, you can use it.
You can use mine. I won't ever use it.
But
I want my own bow.
If you break it,
yeah. I wouldn't
I'd
break
be like, dang, that thing was like $3,000, dude.
I wouldn't break it, but I want my own bow.
I'm just kidding.
I want my own setup. Which I mean I got plenty of guns to go hunting with. So
honestly, dude, gun hunting is a blast.
I think it is. I think that there's different things to enjoy about both.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess it's also just because I grew up just hunting with guns.
Yeah, so you grew up running dogs, huh?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, what is that like?
I mean,
I've never done that.
It's more fun. It's more fun. I know like Dylan and Screech. Screech hates it, and he'll crap on it all day long. But it's fun. I mean, your adrenaline is running the whole time because you can hear the dogs running, and you can hear them getting closer and closer and closer, and then they hit the road in like a split second.
Yeah.
So as soon as the deer hits the road, if you're not shooting,
and then you got 10 rednecks on the CB going, he's crossing the road.
yeah, he's crossing on Creekmore Road.
Yeah, and everybody's hauling butt to
Get the dogs! Get the dogs!
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a lot of fun. I killed my first deer.
That's cool.
Running dogs. I killed my first deer on my birthday running dogs.
That's actually sick.
Speaking of Cotton.
Speaking of dogs.
Hey.
He's about to knock that
He's
camera
about to
over.
knock it over. Hey, lay down.
What kind of producer are you, dude?
Come on now.
How much are we paying him for this?
He's a freeloader.
He lives for free.
Yeah,
here.
he's a freeloader.
Hey, lay
He
down.
gets fed
Come on, lay down. Come here.
But yeah, running dogs is fun. It's a ton of fun.
I'd like to experience that at least just once.
Fun.
Did y'all run dogs in Douglas?
We couldn't. There's what's the county? It's like one county over where it was legal, but
Yeah, it's illegal in most places, isn't it?
yeah. Which I'm glad that you can't run dogs in Coffee County because I mean, they just run all over the place and your deer are gone.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about it is if you're running, like the dog club that I grew up hunting on, they also had a steel club that you couldn't run dogs in that specific block. But so a lot of the deer funneled into that block because they weren't getting messed with. But also on a dog club, you don't really discriminate against what you're shooting because you don't know what it is.
You're just seeing brown and...
Yeah, it hits the road and you're like... So, I mean, you don't... people killed nub bucks all the time, and I've never seen anybody kill like a fawn, which is good. But, yeah, I mean, you don't really know what you're shooting, what you're getting until you shoot it.
Yeah.
Or find it.
Yeah. I think gun hunting is like... For me, I think about taking Morgan. Just sitting there and being able to not have... like. You don't have to be so quiet and so still. You can sit in a blind and kind of just enjoy your time instead of trying to be as stealthy as possible.
Morgan ain't killing a deer with a bow.
Honestly, bro, if she wanted to, she could. But she doesn't want to, and you have to be too still.
Yeah, I love her to death, but I don't know. I guess she'll watch this.
That's funny.
It's pretty much my problem, too. I just can't sit still up there, dude.
I can. I love it. Even gun hunting. I mean, I'm still sitting like stiff.
Yeah.
But it was also how I was raised and taught to hunt. It was like, hey, if you're up in a tree, they hear and see everything. Be quiet, don't move. And there was an old guy that used to own some property that I hunted on in Jenkins County, and he chain smoked cigarettes, so he coughed nonstop. He'd come in there with a 6-pack of beer in his backpack and just sit there and crack beer, and he killed deer all the time.
Yeah, that's gun hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to the point of the deer they can smell you and they can see you and that's definitely a factor in all of it. But I've seen guys shoot deer with cigarettes hanging out of their mouth.
I hunted with a guy that lived by it. He wouldn't hunt without it.
Yeah.
He'd light one up and they'd like come to him.
We went hunting, me and a buddy of mine went hunting. We had a piece of property. It wasn't a big piece of property, but it was probably, I don't know, 25, 30 acres. And this older fella lived on there, and he had a big accident happen to him at work, and it blew his hands, not off, but the mobility of his hands was definitely not what it was before the accident. So he didn't hunt a lot anymore, and he leased it to me and this buddy of mine. And we went hunting, and we were hunting in this huge abandoned barn. And he had been drinking beer all afternoon. This is before I was old enough to drink, but he was old enough to drink. And he was sitting there drinking, and he'd get up and go pee in the back of the barn. He'd come back, and he eventually kind of got tipsy, so he was kind of being loud and obnoxious. And one of the biggest 8 points I've ever seen came out right at dark. And
he missed it.
Well, he could. It got to the point where it was so dark he couldn't. And we weren't. We were bow hunting, and we were just sitting together, and goofing off or whatever.
Yeah, alcohol and archery don't really mix.
No.
I mean, I could see like a rifle scope and being able to pull a shot off, but
those pins are already so small, and
you're just it's laughable.
Yeah, but I mean, and granted at the time I call him my buddy. He's my mom's ex-husband. I didn't want to throw him under the bus.
Well, but that's hilarious, dude.
It's Noah's dad.
Gotcha.
It's my little brother's dad.
Gotcha.
And
I love your little brother, dude.
He's coming up here in December.
He's freaking awesome.
I think we should write a song with him.
Let's do it.
Because he really wants to.
Let's do it.
He really wants to write some songs.
It was really cool being around him for your wedding and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it kind of made me feel like I don't even know him, but just hearing some of the stuff, like it kind of made me protective a little bit.
I'm a lot more protective of him now than I think when you don't have younger. Your sister's older than you, isn't she?
She's 27. She's 2 years younger.
Okay. He's 14 and I'm 26. So he's a good bit younger than I am. And when he was really little, he was way more interested in hanging out with my sister and my mom. So he didn't, which mom's his caretaker.
Yeah.
And I was running around being a hooligan. Yeah. So there really wasn't much that I could teach him or do with him. And then by the time he was old enough to like be cool enough to, not cool enough, but by the time he was old enough for me to be able to hang out with him and like have grown up conversations, I was already moved up here. And so now, like every time I see him and he comes up here or I go down there, we go hunting together. I mean, he hung out with us
all night
at the little bachelor, whatever that was, the night before the wedding. And he just soaks it up, dude. He didn't say much that night. He just sits there and archives the information. And
smart.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have any input to be able to put in.
When you're 14, you really don't know.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like...
He didn't have any input at all to say anything.
You would hope so at that age.
Yeah, I mean, and not the cool thing, this is honestly terrible, but like a lot of the stuff that he has seen growing up has deterred him from wanting to involve himself around any alcohol or drugs or, any stuff like that. I mean, he's obviously probably curious, I'm sure, but he doesn't. Like I called him the other day and we were talking and asked him what he was up to, and he was like, I'm just sitting on the front porch doing my Bible study. And he started doing Bible study after he left.
Really?
Yeah. He got into it. He went and bought a book.
That's cool.
And has like a morning Bible study that he does.
Dude,
after hanging out with us. Which is kind of crazy because the stories we told that night were like,
we went back.
Yeah, we went deep in the archives.
But it was good because he got to because we all told our horror stories of like how bad we were. Because, I mean, Brian was getting married the next day. We had a case of beer and we were just kind of like shooting the crap and being like, oh, Dylan, you remember this time? Or, oh, Brian, you remember when we went to blah, blah, blah and did this? And, just kind of the war stories get bigger and better with time. And then we finally looked at Brian's brother and we were like, all right. We said all this.
Don't do any of that.
But we don't do it. Those were different people.
Right.
I think that's probably what provoked a little bit of the curiosity and getting the Bible study was we told all of those stories, and in the end of it, we were like, but then we found Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything changed. And that was probably for him like, oh, okay, this is what brought them out of that thing.
Yeah.
So maybe I should, we grew up in church and my parents were in a traveling gospel group, so they, went on the road and sang, and we were in church, in a different church every Sunday. But,
Dude, Cotton's cracking me up.
He's over there sneezing.
Hey man, lay down, Cotton.
But I think he's always had a curiosity about it, but he's just never had anybody instill it in him like I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get him to move up here, but he's got a little girlfriend down there that
has his heart.
Yeah. Which they've been together for, it's not like I say a little girlfriend, they've been together for 2 years, but at 14 years old, you know. I think she's 15, so I think she just got her her learner's permit and he doesn't want to leave her. But I do think, and I told him this on the phone, that he would have if somebody came to me at 14 or 15 and was like, hey, you can move to Nashville with me. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to, we'll take care of you. Your bills are paid. You can live under our roof and just go to school, grow up here, figure it out. I would have been all over that.
Yeah. You probably would have been scared though. That's a big,
it's a world
at 14,
almost,
you're like, what?
Well, I think me and him are different in the ways of
y'all's security thing growing up was a lot different than
I was a little I moved out of my parents' house for the first time at 15 or 16. Yeah. Now, granted, I went back and forth a ton, but I was living on my own at 15 during the summer. And then, you know, me and mom or whoever I was arguing with would make up, and I'd come home and live there for however long till I moved out again. But so for me, if somebody had been like, yeah, move to Nashville, I'd have been like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I feel you. That was a good night, though. I remember, not to get off track, we'll get back to that, but
No.
it sounds weird to say this, but I remember we sat him down after we got talking about like I said, the war stories and stuff, and somebody brought up porn, and we were just like, bro, whatever you do,
stay away from it.
Don't watch it.
Yep.
Like, I remember he had like, how many people were there? Like 6 or 7 of us?
It was me, you, Dylan,
Marty,
Trey Saxon,
Chris,
him.
Yeah, 7 of us.
Yeah.
Including him, yeah. I wish somebody would have told me that at 14.
Me too.
Yeah. Now, if you listen or not is kind of. But I hear,
especially people our age.
Yeah, and I think he will listen. I think, like, I have seen. It's weird. It's weird to say this, but I can tell that he looks up to me, and I can tell that he values like my opinion. And if I say something is wrong or I don't agree with a certain thing that he's doing, I've never scolded him for it, but I have been like, you should probably not do that. And he's always listened.
Yeah.
Which is
he respects you.
He sounds very mature for a 14-year-old.
He really is. He's one of the cooler 14-year-olds that I've met.
Dude, I was not that cool at 14.
Oh. And not even just cool, but like I wasn't doing a Bible study at 14 on my front porch by myself, you know?
Yeah, and there's a whole freaking Tyler knows. There's a plethora of things we could dive into that's probably got him to that point, but I think that for him, especially after that night hanging out with us, number one, he wants to be a songwriter. He is learning how to play, teaching himself how to play guitar, teaching himself how to play piano, teaching himself how to write songs. And I think that he sees us and is like, well, if I want to do that one day, then I should probably act and carry myself the way that these guys do. And another thing that's kind of cool, which, I mean, this is just throwing Dylan some flowers, but Noah's aside from knowing him personally, he's a big Dylan Marlowe fan. And
it's funny because that side of Dylan came out that night. That's like in rare form.
Yeah. And he's always been like, oh, like Dylan Marlowe, what's he up to? How's he been? You know, he's always just been curious, and you can tell that he has like that. He's a fan.
Yeah.
He's a fan of it. And he opened up to us that night was kind of telling us, you know, how his clothes were being taken away from him, and there was stuff that was being locked up that he couldn't get to because of, you know, without giving too much away, just the living situation that he was dealing with. And the night after the wedding, the night of the wedding, Dylan called me and was like, hey, leave your studio unlocked. I'm going to come by and drop something off for Noah tomorrow morning. I was like, all right, cool. And I think Dylan was on the way to the airport or whatever. And I woke up the next morning and went out there and grabbed it. And he brought him and when I say a duffel bag, I mean like a freaking
large suitcase.
Yeah, slap full of T-shirts, hoodies, like.
This is all like dive bombs.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Very, very sought after.
Yeah, dive
like
bomb stuff.
Clothing.
Sitka stuff, like hunting gear, nice golf shirts. He threw a belt in there, like really, really nice. A lot of the stuff that, you know, Dylan has that he doesn't wear that, you know, he just got too much of it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of it.
And Noah, when I dropped it off with Noah, he was like, nobody's ever been that nice to him before. And the fact that it came from somebody that he admires I feel like makes him want to just be around that.
Yeah, and it makes you want to imitate that too.
Yeah.
Like somebody does something like that for you, like, holy crap, there's there's those type of people in the world, which is, from what I can tell, kind of like polar opposite of what.
And he's not around those people at all. Yeah. Like the people he is around are in some ways really selfish. And like the night that we went to pick up his suit, we were walking out the store and he was smelling colognes and was, just kind of browsing or whatever. And I was like, do you want one of those? And he was like, oh, no, they're too expensive. And not saying I'm like...
You're like, hold on, let me flex on this boy.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just like, I now have a steady income and I'm like, I'm not rich by no means at all. I'm more broke than I am rich. But I'm also in a position where I can... And that was a lot of the reason why I wanted to be able to have a career that catapulted me forward financially so that I could go back and help out my family or help out him or whoever. Mm-hmm. And I bought him just a bottle of cologne and he was so thankful. Like he's like, I can't believe that you did that. And I'm like, bro, are people not doing this for you? Are you not getting what you think, like, stuff that you want? Mm-hmm. And the next day we went to the mall and I bought him some jeans and we walked in there and he wears a bunch of American Eagle jeans. And I was like, do you want to try some on, pick some out? Like what do you like to wear? Like what fits? And he was like, I don't know. I've never tried jeans on before. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? And I'm not like, my mom is a great mom. His dad is a great dad. I think that the standard is just different. Like, we're going to buy you what you get, and you're going to wear that.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, we had sat in there for like 45 minutes, and he was trying on jeans, and he found two that he really loved, and, like, I told him, I was like, you can move up here, and you can have that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we can go to the mall if you need clothes and get you some stuff, and...
Dude, that boy would be dripped to the max if he lived up here.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
All of us.
Yeah. Well, you sound like a good brother.
He is.
And to his point about, like, he wants to be a songwriter and he's seen all this. He's a fan of Dylan. Like, I'm trying to imagine if I'm 14 and my brother, one, besides your own career, is like friends with people who are successful and doing things that are really unique and cool. But then on top of that, his actual brother is doing the thing that he set out to do. Like, you set a precedent of like, man, I'm going to go chase the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to just chase it. That says a lot. Two, you've had an awesome year.
Thanks, man.
And you've shown that, like, you can actually chase your dreams and achieve them too.
Yeah.
So it's probably really cool from his point of view to be looking at his older brother like, dang, bro. Like, I think that'd be so cool to be 14 and be like, man, my older brother's like got a pub deal, or he's like professionally writing songs, or he's got this cut, or he's on the road with so-and-so. Like, that's got to be really cool for him to see that from you too.
Yeah. This is just a funny story. I'm not telling this story to like, woe to me, but he FaceTimed me one day in class and his teacher was doing, I don't know what kind of presentation it was or what it was about, but somewhere in a small town was part of the presentation. Like, something about the song and me and whatever it was. I don't know the details of it, but he FaceTimed me. And he's just sitting in the back of class and he's like, hey, dude, look at this. And like turned the camera around. And I was like, that's pretty sick. Honestly, like that fires me up.
That's awesome.
And then his teacher, I guess, knew that he asked if he could FaceTime me. And then she like took the phone and was like talking to me. And like I was waving to his class. And I'm like, dude, I bet when you hang up the phone, you're going to be the coolest. Not because of who I am, just because of the setting that you're sitting in.
Yeah. It's cool.
And even with like Dylan, like he obviously has pictures of him and Dylan hanging out, whatever. Yeah. And he goes home and he's like,
oh yeah,
I was hanging out with Dylan Wilder this weekend because his friends back home love Dylan.
Dude, I went to Statesboro one time and can't remember. What's the general store?
Anderson's,
yeah. We went in there and somebody had like lost their phone and left it in Anderson's, and it was sitting on the counter. And somebody texted, and the screensaver on their phone was a picture of Dylan. I was like, Dylan, did Natalie leave her phone in here? And he's like, what? And then somebody was like, no, somebody just left their phone in here, and their screensaver was of Dylan.
That's funny. I mean, dude, it's weird because we're such good friends with him at how popular he is.
The radio changes everything. Even to this day, I was talking to someone on the phone earlier today, and Morgan's calling me. But I was like, yeah, man, I hadn't listened to the radio in years unless I'm in a tractor. It's about the only time I listen to it. But you watch, like Drew Baldridge is a prime example too. You watch these guys get some success on radio, and it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
Script flips.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's like, it's still the way to the top.
Yeah.
It is.
Unfortunately, I think that now the bad thing about it is you have, and Drew said this a ton, any time that I would talk to him about it, you have success, and in the middle of enjoying that success, people are like, what's next?
Yeah.
What's coming next? And we've created such a culture of the attention span is much shorter than it used to be. And, I mean, you see it, like songs will climb to the top.
And they're gone.
And then they're gone.
And the next one's up.
They drop down to 30.
I think it's that way across the board now. Not even just on the radio.
yeah.
We do that, even putting our own music out of like, it's like I told you the other day, I went and recorded 2 new songs, and I was pulling out of the driveway of Grady's, talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, talking about finishing the other one that I was already writing to go record it. And she was like, dude, you just recorded these. Like, be excited about the ones you just recorded. And my answer was like, those are gone.
It's
on to the next.
It's a dopamine hit.
Well, I do think that there's also something to having a catalog of songs ready.
I agree with that.
To release
But we can never put all the songs that we want out.
No.
I would say,
but it also depends on what kind of platform you have. Like,
but still, like, even if, like, let's say 5 years down the road, you and anybody in this room, let's say we're 35, whatever, and we want to like put it, or we're going to put out every song that we want to. That's probably like 300 songs.
Yeah.
Like, you look at your catalog at that point in your life, because mine's probably like 700 that I've written, if not 1,000.
Yeah.
What percentage of those are cuttable songs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully a third.
I mean, I agree and disagree at the same time. I think it to your point, it depends on the platform, right? Like, if you're an artist like Russ, and you're like, I'm giving you a song a week for 2 years straight until one of them fires off, and then I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But like, we can't all be mastermind producers in our own house.
I mean, there's also, obviously Russ is crushing it, and he puts out a ton of music, but your batting average goes down.
No doubt.
When you do that. No doubt. And I think, go back to the attention span of people that are willing to, when you drop, the excitement goes away. It's like, another song came out.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
So there is something, I mean, supply and demand,
Yeah,
I mean, if you hold out for a while and then you build a great catalog of songs, or you do something like Morgan Wallen's done where he drops a 36 song record, and then he doesn't release anything for another 2 years or a year and a half, however long it is, and he tours the same record or the same songs, and then throws a couple in there, like
singles,
what's the song?
Lies.
That one, and there was one more that came out after that.
Love Somebody.
Yeah, so I mean, all he did was, which I mean, his audience and platform is just massive, but all he did was tease it once or twice on Instagram and TikTok, and was playing it live, and the week after he released it, it was number 1 on Billboard.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like
38 million monthlies.
Yeah. The song has I looked at it today, it has 24 million streams. I think it came out last Friday.
Yep.
That's almost as many YouTube views as the
Donald Trump interview.
the Rogan and Trump podcast,
which is nuts. I mean, it's. But again, it's the platform that you have. It's the number of eyes that you have on you, and you can release as many songs as you want, or you can. Do y'all know who NF is?
Oh yeah, the rapper.
Yeah, the only time he gets on social media is when he's going to release something or announce a tour.
It's like John Bellion.
Yeah, and people still pay attention because the music that he currently released holds them over.
Yep.
And then he pops up on Instagram, and everybody knows what that means. And it's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
He's about to drop.
I think it boils down to, at least with that artist or a John Bellion or whoever, is like, they set the tone at the very beginning.
Yeah.
What I give you is going to be quality through and through every time.
Yeah.
And so it's okay if it's like 3 years in between, because the last record they dropped is still listenable for 3 years straight, if not more. I mean, John Bellion didn't put music out for 6 years, and we're all still listening. Whoever's listening to John Bellion is listening to everything from 6 years ago, just waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Because they know when that next thing comes out, they'll listen to it for the next 6 years too.
Yeah. And on the other side of that coin, with artists that are making the climb, like the three of us, you have to be consistent. That consistency is key, and you have to put out singles, you have to put out EPs, you have to put out...
And then the content game too.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to work your way up to that point, which is such a weird concept because the way that I look at it is, let's say you have an artist that has 50,000 to 100,000 monthly listeners. There are millions of people that have never heard of that artist before. Right. And then when they do, the first thing they're going to do is go back and listen to everything that you've put out before. Yep. And they're going to cherry pick the songs that they like out of that. And you have a new fan. Mm-hmm. You have a new fan that enjoys the older stuff. Mm-hmm. While you're constantly still trying to build more fans. But it's weird because, like, when I put out my EP, probably like a week or two later, they were like, are you going to release anything for the rest of the year? And I was like, well, I really wasn't planning on it. I was just going to continue to push and market, promote this EP.
When you say they, do you mean the consumer or somebody else?
Just people on my team, or my distributor, and a couple other people that are just kind of.
They mean for the new fans, or what?
Well, they look at everything as what did it get on impact? Like, what was your first day like? If your first day didn't attract 100,000, 200,000 new people to listen, I don't feel like they consider it a success. I feel like they look at it as, okay, you put something new out. The people that are already listening are just continuing to listen. You grabbed a couple new fans.
They don't look at it in context. Like, hey, this is how many you started with. Yeah. This is how many new people, compare like the ratio of new listeners versus current listeners. And, if like, I don't know how many monthlies you have, probably what, like 60?
No, I don't. It fluctuates between like 30 and 60.
Okay. So let's just call it 45 or something like that.
Yep.
If you have 45,000 monthly listeners, you put out an EP and you get 15,000 new monthly listeners. I'm not good at math. That's a pretty large percentage of what you already had on top of that to get you to 60.
Yeah.
And so, like, in retrospect, that would be like if you did that in the millions, if somebody had 100 million monthly, or like, let's just say 1 million monthly listeners, and then they release a song and there's now 200,000 new people on top of that million that are listening to. That's a great day.
Yeah.
But if the numbers aren't that substantial, they don't look at it in like relative to your original like foundation of listeners.
I think that I think in a lot of ways the music industry it's broken. People know that it's broken, and there's a way to fix it. They know the way to fix it, but they refuse to do it.
Making too much money.
They're making too much money, but here's the thing. I was telling you about this last night in that book that I'm reading, Perennial Seller. Social media is an ever-changing platform, and what it was 3 years ago is not what it is today.
Right.
What it is today will not be what it is 3 years from now.
Correct.
Right.
And through and through, I genuinely think the best way to build fans is being on the road and playing shows.
Yeah, because that doesn't change.
That never changes. You look
It
at
doesn't get changed for the consumer.
Yeah. You look at Muscadine Bloodline, Gary and Charlie were playing every single bar room, venue, hole in the wall, dive bar that they could get themselves into. And obviously TikTok and Instagram and social media has sent them into a new stratosphere than what they were. But if TikTok and Instagram didn't do that and they were still just touring, they were selling out every single venue they were going into. They had diehard fans. And when me and Katie were on our honeymoon, we went to Post Malone was playing in town the very last night that we were there, and we got tickets and went.
Were they playing?
Yeah. Muscadine opened for Post, and I had never seen the first time I saw them live was probably I was probably 18 or 19, and I still lived in Statesboro, and they played at Nats Landing. And when I saw them play, they were using the old school Shure in-ear monitors that they weren't molds, they weren't like molds, they were just like regular old headphones, like Apple headphones.
Right.
And when I saw them then, I was like, gee, these guys are really freaking good.
Yeah,
like
and they were. They've always been that good.
And seeing them, I've seen them one other time after that, still great. But when I saw them open for Post, I was floored.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap.
It's nuts.
I get why. And the reason that they are that good is because they toured nonstop.
And they're dialed.
And they are, I mean, Charlie knows when Gary's going to fart on stage. And Gary knows the same thing about Charlie. And then the two of them know everything about their band, and their band knows everything about them. They know what they're going to do. They know the steps they're going to, because they have been doing it nonstop.
Yeah, it's true.
You know who reminds me of that? Randall King.
Yeah. I mean, he's the same way, dude. Like he gets on stage and his band, they know exactly what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. He knows what they're going to do. But he's also very, I say this if Randall listens to this, I say this in a very loving way. He is very, very stern and very
about how he wants it to be.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The first time I ever played a show with him, we were at Tuffy's Music Box in Florida, and me and him had talked on the phone before, but we had never. The first time I actually ever met him was years ago at Losers. It was like me, you, Tristan. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, I do.
But that's the first time I met him. That's the only time I ever met him in person. And we've talked on the phone. And then when I met him at Tuffy's, he was on stage checking his mic, and it sounded great to me. And he was like getting on his sound guy's ass because he was like, we got to fix this. And I was like, man, it sounds pretty damn good. But he was like, we got to tighten it up. It's got to be better. It's got to be better. And it's just he strives for excellence. Mm-hmm. And back to the live show aspect of it, if you're on TikTok and you're promoting these songs, not only could TikTok go away, and then if it does go away, what do you do then?
Yeah.
But fans, people, the audience, consumers they're not getting any kind of sense of your personality. They're not getting any kind of sense of your showmanship. That is what music is. The music business is entertainment.
Right.
Yep.
Just like wrestling or, anything in that vein. It's entertainment. People want to go, they want to be entertained. They want to forget about the things that they're dealing with at home. They want to have a good time. They want to drink some beers. They want to hang out with their buddies. And you don't get that when you look at social media posts. You just get
a promotion, essentially.
You just get this guy that's fake singing in front of a camera, and I hate that I have to do it. I hate that you have to do it. I hate that you have to do it. But it's just like part of the beast. But I think that if you tie in live shows with that, it's going to push you forward it's way more than just having a viral moment, because people have a viral moment and then they're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
They're like, what can we get that's next?
I think too, like the tandem, the yin and the yang of having live shows and then also performing like social media content. Sorry, I about had a stroke right there. The yin and the yang of like having the shows to play and then also being able to post your song at night.
Yeah.
And do it over and over and over again. We've watched Dylan do it, man. Like when I was out on the road with him, we played 7 shows.
Yeah.
But even in those 7 shows, bro, like as soon as I got off stage, I'd post something. There was like, I'd get like 100 new followers.
Yep.
Because I'm not saying like, oh, I can sing better than other people, but like I can play a show.
Yeah.
Like I can get up there. I can entertain someone. I have decent, music. It might not be the best music in the world, bro. But at the same time, like it touched somebody enough to follow me. Yep. Maybe want to come back to the next show that I play. And then, that's how you gain fans. Yeah. And if you can have that thing where it's like, okay, this guy's trending somehow. Even if it's like the Muscadine stuff, like they were trending with their live shows were trending for a long time before their social media took off.
Yep.
And then when you did, they had the show to back it up. Right. And it's just a compounding thing that builds over time. And it's like, it's almost combustible.
It is. I think I watched it happen right now in real time with Jordan. Yeah. Jordan already had a good following. I've watched his following go up significantly and his monthly listeners and his song streams because he's on tour right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's posting every night, resharing photos of people that are doing the meet and greet with him because they're posting the picture. It is all one big thing if you can get it right on both levels.
Yeah.
Well, and here the other thing is too is if you're playing shows, you have a unlimited amount of content.
No doubt.
If you play 7 shows, full band, and you pay somebody to come out and get good footage and just have a camera on you the whole time.
The whole time, behind the scenes, everything.
Braxton Keith is a really great example of this.
Cotton.
You not only have the live show aspect, you have reels to post from certain songs. You have what are they called?
Like a cover image thing.
You have that. I'm blanking on the word.
Behind the scenes.
Recap. You have a recap video you can build where it's like just building hype.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have Dylan does a really great job of this. He gets up there and they'll do like singing harmonies in the bathroom, or there's so much stuff that you can get from content or from being on the road that you're able to post, and people care about that
way more, dude.
Way more.
And to that point, and I've always been about this. I brought it up a million times. Content used to be so freaking awesome, especially on YouTube before social was a thing, because of that reason.
Yeah.
Like when I was in middle school, I was a crazy rap fan, dude. I loved rap music.
Same. I still do.
And the most interesting thing to me that I paid attention to the most, more than the music, was the day-to-day videos from Wiz Khalifa and the Kelly Vision videos from Machine Gun Kelly. Because you got to see the road life.
Yeah.
You got to see what it was like on the bus or in the hotel or what really happened backstage. And it was like, oh, man, like that's what their life actually looks like. Whereas what we're having to do now is like, me and him talked about the other day with content, like getting the stuff just in your house. People are seeing this all day, bro.
All day. Mm-hmm. Dude, Katie is not in any way involved in the music industry whatsoever. She's just a regular old consumer, which I'm sure your girlfriend probably is, and I'm sure Morgan is too. Or I know that she is. Mm-hmm. She hates it. Katie's like, I hate seeing some dude or girl singing. And the funny thing is that they hate making it just as much as people hate watching it.
Dude, well, I mean, I've talked about it with him. It's like, can you imagine, like, well, you don't have to imagine. You're one of them. Like, you get on your phone right now, and it's like you're going to see something very similar probably from me or Tyler or Jordan or fill in the blank from everybody at Dylan.
Some young stud with a guitar.
Dude, like, we're all doing the same thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and at the end, it's like, it's not that we're competing with each other by any means, but it's like, I think about it from a consumer standpoint, from any, you just mentioned our girls or whatever. It's like, they're getting on there and they're probably like, there's Tyler, there's Jordan, there's Jasper.
Yeah, dude.
It's the same freaking thing I keep seeing all day.
I can't remember who it was the other day, but he had posted. It was one of our close friends. I don't remember who it was, but he had posted about this song that was coming out. And I wasn't reading the captions. He was just promoting his song, and I called him on a Friday. I was like, "What's up, man?" Not because the song came out. I didn't.
Yeah.
You see it so much. Like, I don't read. I'm just like, oh, he's promoting something.
Yeah.
Because used to, dude, back in the day, like, so when we put a song out, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was so big. Like, we would throw a party.
A release party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
And it was so fun. And it was a really, like, just a special moment because you're like, I'm putting my creation and my art out into the world. And if people like it, great. But I'm doing my due diligence.
I'm asleep before my songs come out now.
I know.
Like, Kay's like, you going to stay up for your song to come out? Like, no, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And it's sad because you have industry people that are head of labels that are like, we need to gain control back. We need, this, and that. Songs cost $1 million, I think, to send a song to number one once it's at radio.
Yeah.
And it's like, find artists that you think are really good. Maybe they don't have a huge following, and that's okay. Find an artist that you think is really good, court them, make sure that they work hard, make sure the music's there, make sure that the songs that they're writing is up to par. Sign them fairly. Don't take away the rights to all of their music. Mm-hmm. Let them have some control.
And watch how hard they work.
Yeah. Put them on the road and watch. I mean, that's how they used to do it. That's where we got Jason Aldean and Kenny Chesney and all of these.
I mean, nobody was developed.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, we're developing artists. No, like,
you're not, dude. Because you're gonna deal, and it's hey, go back to your bedroom and make sure these TikToks pop off like you were already trying to do before we owned the majority of what you're doing.
Drew Baldridge had to get a song to number one on the radio by himself before he signed another record deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's plain as day.
Dude, if you I don't know if you listened to it. We listened to it. Rogan had Luke Bryan on the other day, which I thought was sick. That
it was a good podcast.
I need to listen to that.
It was good because, like, dude, you just talked about all those artists that went through what it used to be. He was specifically talking about in there where he was like, man, like, I was just known as the Georgia guy for so long. Like, all I wanted to do is break into Auburn, Alabama. And it's so weird to hear that coming from him because of who he is now, right? He can go play freaking Japan if he wanted to in English and they wouldn't care. But, like, that is how it was back then. Like, he had to grind to be like, man, I just want an audience in Auburn because it's right down the street from Atlanta. That's all he wanted. And he was just road dogging it.
Bro, he's good. Don't quote me on this. I don't know how many exactly it was. He had 3 or 4 songs flop at radio before he had a number one.
Yeah.
And
we rode in trucks, didn't go
We
number
rode
one.
trucks.
Nowadays, if that would happen,
you get dropped.
Yeah.
Immediately. It wouldn't even be a question asked anymore, dude.
Yeah. And all it is, Cole Swindell was selling Luke Bryan's merch. And then Luke took him on the road. And then now we have Cole Swindell.
Right.
Like, and a lot of these, like, older, I've seen, what's his name that sings, dadgummit. I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool?
Rodney Atkins.
Yeah. I've seen them trying to, like, push him on social media. And it's like, bro, this is weird.
It doesn't feel right.
So weird.
It doesn't feel right.
It's so weird watching Clay Walker do that.
Yeah. Don't ruin it
like,
for me.
Dude, you're Clay Walker. You shouldn't have to post a TikTok.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Don't ruin it for me.
I mean, and I want to say this just because of, like, my own self, too. Like, I don't want to completely, like, crap on the whole thing either. Because, like, to be fair, I probably wouldn't. I would still have 12 monthly listeners if it wasn't for being able to post content.
There's an application for it.
And, like, my situation at the current state that I'm in is a little different. Like, if I could go play the shows physically with my voice, I'd go do it. So, like, for my rare happenstance, like, I'm going to suck up every freaking ounce of social media I can get because as of right now, like, it's the only reason that my songs are going to make me money. Before all that happened, like, I was all about going and playing Zydeco for $50 at the bar tab, you know what I mean, and not even getting paid for it. So, and it is cool. I mean, like, it goes both ways, right? Like, because there are some artists that have that viral moment you're talking about, and they're not ready. And we've seen we've seen it a million times where it's like they get thrown on the stage at an audience that they're not ready for, and it's evident. At the same time, we've seen artists that have maybe like had a big moment on there and they played it a little safe and they might have taken the smaller route of playing shows at the beginning and it proved to be okay for them.
Yeah.
They're not like, yep, throw me on with Jason Aldean. I've never played a show before though. That seems a little like, I don't know if that's the move versus like, I'm having a moment. I'll go play my local joint on the street acoustically until I figure this thing out and get dialed in. I don't even have a band yet.
Yeah. I think what people might see from the outside too is like nobody in this circle wants anybody to lose. Like,
No.
Yeah.
I don't care that Bailey Zimmerman didn't live here before he popped off.
Right. And Zach Brown didn't
Like,
either.
I don't care. I genuinely, for those human beings, like, I'm super happy that they had a dream and it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that also does not mean that I didn't move my
Yeah.
whole life to Nashville
Yeah.
for this thing that everybody told me was this industry, like monster, you know, like the beast of the music industry. And like, we kind of like banked on that, you know?
Yeah.
And
and
it's
that
just
was the fun of it.
and that's the chase of the industry was like, I think it's been a healthy chase up until recently because it's such a like vapor. People don't know like what their music is worth anymore. Almost. It's kind of confusing. And I think that Brian, you said it well. You were like, find somebody who wants to play shows, who's a good singer, you know, can write songs. He might not have to have the biggest following in the world or whatever. And like, look at that person's character and that will protect your investment.
Yeah.
It's like, is this someone I can trust that I sink like $100,000 into? Because that's what I just went through, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we just went through the same thing. And I would get so upset because I was like working so hard. And like, I feel like I was the only one working at times. And I just like, it didn't work out and it was fine. But I'm like, don't y'all want somebody that's going to work hard?
Don't you
crap?
want someone who's going to make you the money you're spending on me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can only do so much with 7 shows.
Yeah.
365 days. It's like, that's a month, you know, that's 1 week. Like we're going to need some
52,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this too and just for anybody listening, and I know that I feel this way. I know the two of y'all feel this way too. We don't feel a victim mentality.
No.
We don't feel victimized or we're not pouting because one person is further ahead than we are and we've been here for long. That's not the case.
No.
I want to see the music industry go back to the way that it was so that I can go do my job.
Yeah, so we can create efficiently.
So I can create efficiently. So I can go do what God put me here to do, which is, I believe, play music, build a platform to spread y'all playing footsie?
Yeah.
To spread a solid, good message.
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's not a victim mentality. It's which I think some people will probably say, "Oh,
well, I mean, I'll be the first one to correct you on that because, like, he knows, and I think most people that either follow this platform or me know, like, I genuinely love the content aspect just because I like content. So, like, to me, it's just another creative outlet. So I don't feel the victim mentality at all. Like, I enjoy it and I think it's cool. I definitely see the negative side of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
No one's a victim. I mean,
no.
Dude. And everything works out for every artist or writer the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And the way it was always meant to before they ever had their moment or not. And like, that's the God thing. Like, I mean,
nobody told us to move here.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, hey man, you better move.
Nobody's making me stay either.
Yeah. Nobody's like holding a gun to my head being like, you have to write songs for
That's a good point.
I'm choosing to do
yeah.
that. And are we allowed to be frustrated at the way the industry operates currently? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of industry people that I'm sure are really frustrated at it.
More so than not. The crazy thing is I've been in some meetings lately, and I have gotten to the point now to where I just share my opinion, whether they agree with it or not.
You should.
And 9 times out of 10, they agree with it. And
I'm
they're
sure,
like,
dude.
we agree. We
everybody
agree with
does.
that. And again, content, there's an application for everything. Muscadine Bloodline, they were doing really, really great. Their content started popping off. They're doing amazing right now. They just went on tour with Post Malone. I mean, that is an accomplishment for the ages. They don't have publishing. They don't have a record label. They have booking, and I think they have a manager.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have anybody out there, stating their case for them. They don't have any kind of, big flashy news outlets or none of that. They just have good music. They put it out. They put it on TikTok or whatever. And whether it does good or not, great. But they do know they can get on stage every night and blow the freaking roof off the place.
Yep.
And that's going to gain fans.
And sell merch.
And like I said a minute ago, if you have shows and you're going and playing shows, you have content. And that's something that I feel like some of these big labels don't understand is like, granted, it is harder to get people to ask you to go on tour. Now it's more of, you know, does the artist want you to go versus we have
the booking agent.
Yeah, the booking agent's like, hey, we have 2 WME acts that we really want to put on the road. We're going to stick these people. It's not so much like that anymore.
No.
So you do have to have a personal relationship with, in most cases, have a personal relationship with the person that is going on the road that could ask you to come. But if you are at a label and they're wondering, oh man, when nothing's going viral and they don't have control over it, put them on the road. Find a way. Kevin Hart is a great example of this. He was playing or doing stand-up in tiny little hole-in-the-wall places. And while he was doing that, he was putting cards on all the tables saying, hey, I want to know who you are. Send us your email address. He built an email, not an email following, but a, what would that be called?
A campaign, pretty much.
Well, he built a mailing list.
Mailing list, yeah.
And it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen over a year. It probably cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and him being away from his family more than not. But look at him now.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it takes time, and people will get signed, and they sit on a shelf forever, and then they get dropped, and then, you know, it's like, well, that just didn't work out. I guess I'm just not good enough.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that it forces them, the artist, to feel like, you know, they weren't good enough, or even the label to be like, well, it's just not working because of X, Y, and Z, versus what you're saying, like, go find where they work, though.
Yeah.
Go find the thing that, just because of their content, dude, there's so many artists that just don't want to do the content.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not talented.
Yeah.
Like Muscadine would not be Muscadine if it was, no, here's a better way to say it. Muscadine is still Muscadine Bloodline with the talent they have if social media dies tomorrow.
Oh yeah. And it's going to go away.
Yeah.
It might not be this year, next year, or 3 years from now, but eventually there's going to be something else. Yep. I mean, look at Luke Combs and Vine. I guarantee you that every person that was on Vine trying to do what Luke Combs did never thought in a million years, well, one day Vine's going to go away. And I'm not going to have this anymore. Granted, Vine went away and we got TikTok, but these social media it's ever changing. Some are going to crash. Some are going to thrive and continue to grow, but it's not the end all be all. Like I think some people think it is. And we got artists and country music artists that have lasted decades without it prior to it ever happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk. We've spent an hour talking about.
I know, and I'd love to talk about.
We're not in a hurry.
I know.
I would love to talk about yourself as an artist, and I've only known you for.
Sorry, man, I love that song.
Thanks, bro.
I've only known you for like a year from the Bible study.
Yeah.
So like, I can only watch what's happened over the last year. To me, not knowing what your artist or writer career was like previously to the past 12 to 14 months, to me, it looks like you've had a very major year, and maybe that's caused some shifts in the right direction in your career. And like, I'd like to tell you what I've seen, and you correct me.
Yeah.
And it seems like, 'cause I think I asked you this almost maybe at the beginning of the year, you were talking about the Randall cut, and I think it wasn't even out yet. I think it was about to come out.
Came out January 26th, I think.
On the album, by the way, before I even go any further, like, I said it the moment the album came out, dude. That is one of the best albums, and I would even put it up there for the best album of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to classic country music with a modern sound that will stand the test of time, that you can listen to in 15 years and still say that sounds really freaking good and classic, it's that one. So congrats to having a couple there.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, but it's an insane, not being biased because my song's on there. Even if you took my song off of there.
The album's crushed.
The album is
amazing.
insanely
timeless.
good. Yeah,
It's so
good.
and that's rare for today's recording. But
Right Things Right. That song is.
I don't whiskey
shout out
anymore,
Jordan Walker.
dude. There's so many good ones. Hold on, there's another one that just popped in my mind as soon as you said that. Somewhere Over Us.
Oh yeah,
Fire. Anyways,
Joey Hyde wrote that song.
yeah, he did.
Somewhere Over
That's
Us.
good.
Yeah.
Anyways, I remember when I asked you about it, I was like, "Oh, cool, dude. Like, who's your publisher?" And you're like, "I don't have one." And I thought that was so sick because
It is.
that's
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
I want to take a moment for all of us to chime in on this. Like, that's pretty freaking rare to get a cut on a major artist, major label artist, and having no deals on a pub deal.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I'll insert myself right here,
Yeah, do
and
it.
then I'll let Brian clean it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
but I'm just gonna brag on him. Used to like the Ray Fulchers, the Jordan Walkers. I think Rob Snyder was one of those guys. Rob Williford.
Luke
I don't. Yeah, the Luke
Josh Phillips.
Josh Phillips.
Yeah.
I don't know all. Like I'm sure. What's Blake? That right? Pendergrass.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of all these guys that weren't signed probably when they got their first cuts. They all had relationships with these artists. So
Yep.
was it rare? Did it used to be rare to get a cut as an unsigned writer from a major label artist that was going to radio? Yes. Is it even more rare now?
Yeah.
Yes. But it's even also more rare. Brian, y'all didn't even really know each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you weren't in the camp.
It's so rare that he didn't have a deal. The song was already out, and you didn't know him,
Yeah.
and now it's on the radio.
Yeah.
And that is,
It's nuts.
I mean, this podcast is called GodDog and GodDog. That is like, that is
Yeah.
everything that doesn't happen in the music industry. And I mean, this is long winded, but dude, God is freaking moving in your life, bro, and that is.
Yeah. I mean
it's a testament to him first and obviously, but
Yeah.
also it's a testament to you because I've watched you grow. I mean, just like freaking weed, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Freaking weed in the front yard and flower bed just won't die. You know.
You can't kill me.
I mean, you've really
can't keep me down.
yeah, man, you've come a long way, and I don't even mean I really just mean your character. At the end of the day, like I've just, I mean, Brian and I have had our headbutts.
Yeah.
Really,
I mean, in a good way. It's never been like we've never headbutted in a bad way. We've never been mad at each other.
no,
I don't think.
but I do think everything, all that has been for the better, and also out of love. And what I'm saying is, I try not to use the word proud because the Bible talks about pride, but like, dude, I'm as your buddy and like your brother, I'm just so pleased with like everything
That's a nice choice of words.
that you do, man. Because
Thanks, bro.
I've watched you clean it up, man. We were
Yeah.
all filthy, and you were one of them. I was too, and
Yeah.
boy, I mean, looking at you now, it's like daggum.
I was the filthiest.
Yeah.
want
but that's all I'll say about it. I digress. But
Yeah, I think that like it is the last year for me has been nothing short of a miracle. I mean, God truly on my Bible, and I know that you've seen it, but I have trust in God and gain God's trust on sticky notes on my Bible. And for the longest time, I prayed for all of these things and I chased after them and nothing changed. Like, obviously the songs get better every day. The songs that I write, like sometimes they're not better. Sometimes they're just as bad as the first one I ever wrote. But my point in saying that is I'm learning, I'm growing. But aside from that, like the only thing that changed in my life was that I gave up the willingness to be dependent on what I could do. And you kind of know this, but I bout back and forth with drinking and whether I should quit or not. And it was always, well, if I quit drinking, what about on my wedding? You know, I'm going to want to have a beer on my wedding.
Or talk about this.
Or, you know, like when I get my first number one, I'm going to want to, you know, go out and celebrate. Or, you know, when I sign a pub deal, whatever the case was, I'd always been like, well, I can't quit drinking because I'm going to want to drink.
Right, there's always a reason.
When this thing happens. So I just never did. I had plenty of talks with Martin about this. I talked to you about it a ton. And one day I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to quit. Like I can make excuse after excuse. And I'm pretty sure I woke up hungover one day and was like, gosh, I got to quit. And I'd said that 100 times, and I didn't know if it was going to stick that time. But that one time, it actually did stick. And when it comes to the Randall cut, like, I had written the song probably 2 or 3 years ago now. I don't exactly remember when I wrote it. I think it was 2021, maybe. It could have been 2020. I don't really remember.
Well, you say that, start that over. I don't want me snapping in there.
Oh, you're good. No, I was just saying that I wrote the song in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember exactly when it was. We wrote it, me and Mason Thornley. And I loved it. Thought it was a great song. And it was just I didn't have a publishing deal. He had just kind of gotten into his publishing deal. And I was like, the song's great. It's probably never going to get pitched. You know, it's going to sit on a shelf or in my back pocket for years. I'm going to forget about it one day and it's going to be whatever. And a friend of mine reached out to me and was like, hey, Parker McCullum's cutting some songs. And, you know, I just thought about you and thought, you know, maybe I should send him a couple of yours. You know, just send me some if you have some. And obviously Parker McCullum's a little bit different in the sense of it's not, you know, it's not super Nashville. You know, it's not straight down the middle. There's some, not quirkiness, but it's different in some ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have anything that I think would fit him. And I was just sitting in my room one night, and for whatever, and this is just a testimony to God, for whatever reason, I'd started humming that melody in my head. I was like, I can make it rain this fall. I was like, God, what is that song? I know that's a song. I don't know what song that is. And all I could remember was that I could be that rain part. And I just typed it in my phone. I was like, oh, it's a song that I wrote. And I listened to it. I was like, this is pretty dang good. This could be a Parker McCullum song. So I texted Mason. I was like, hey, they're looking for Parker McCullum songs. I have to send this to him in like 2 or 3 days. And so Mason worked up a little demo. I went over and sang on it, sent it over, nothing. Didn't hear anything back. So I was like, well, whatever. You know, I tried. And then I fell in love with the song. And I played it for him a bunch of times, the demo. I just played it for, you know, a bunch of people. And I was like, well, I'll just put it out myself. You know, I think it's a really good song. I'll just put it out on my own artist project. And so I did. And Joey Hyde's my producer. And Joey Hyde was talking to Scott Gunner, which is part of Randall's management team. Scott works with like Cody Johnson and then some Texas guys. The company's called Durango. And Scott and Joey were talking, and Scott was like, hey, man, we've got this artist. It wasn't Randall, but it was another artist that they were working with, and they were looking for a producer for him. And Scott was just like, send me some stuff that you've done and, you know, in the last 4 or 5 months. And Rain was in that pile of songs. And Scott was like, what is this? Who is this guy? What is this? And Joey was like, oh, it's just a guy that, you know, I'm producing right now. His name's Brian. He just released this song. You know, it's great. Just threw it in the pile. And so the story goes, I guess Scott had that song on repeat and on a Spotify playlist, was just listening to it nonstop. Knew the song was already out. And they were looking for a song like that one for Randall's record. And 3 days before they went into cut, Scott was like, screw it. I'm just going to send Randall this song and see if he likes it. So we sent it to him. And, you know, obviously the behind-the-scenes stuff was like, well, the song's already out. He may be using the song to shop record deals, or he may be using the song to get published, whatever it is. We don't want to steal the thunder away from him and, you know, put this song out.
Right.
So Randall reached out to me on Instagram, and it was a really long message. He was, to sum it up, he was just pretty much like, hey, man, I really love this song. We're cutting in 2 or 3 days. You know, I don't want to just pull the rug out from underneath your feet. if you're using this song to shop record deals or whatever it is, like just tell me and we won't cut it. And I was on the way to the gym, and I remember looking at the message, and you have all those like those fake accounts, and you can pay $14 a month now and be verified on Instagram. So I saw it and I was like, this ain't Randall King. And I'd met him a couple of years before that at Losers, and we talked and hung out that night. It was before he ever signed to Warner, and we shot the crap, and I'm trying not to cuss on here. We shot the crap back and forth and hung out, and that was the last time I ever saw him. And then I started listening to his music. And then, fast forward, he reached out to me on Instagram, and I was like, this ain't him. This ain't Randall King. And I opened the message up and read it and clicked on the profile, and I was like, this is Randall King. This is actually him. And he attached his number at the bottom of the message, and he was like, just shoot me a call or whatever. So I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, please cut it. I would be thrilled. And 2 days later, they went in and cut the song. And then Dylan actually told me that they were making it the focus track, because I think him and Randall and Dylan ran into each other somewhere, and he was like, don't tell him yet. But Dylan told me.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, for real.
I'm sure he was like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I got to call Brian
as soon as he gets in the car, dude.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. You're not supposed to know this. But
yeah. And focus tracks now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a single. It just means they're going to push it to playlist. So I was pumped when the song got cut. I was pumped when that happened, and I was like, oh man, I can't get any better than this. There's no way they're going to take this on the radio. And in February, which I think Randall jumped the gun a little bit on this, but in February he told me that they were going to take it to radio, and I've got a video of him telling me on his bus. And this was months before they sent it, and things are ever changing.
Yeah, that was ballsy.
Yeah, and I was like, when he told me, I thought it was going to be like next month they were taking it. And it ended up being, I don't remember the exact ad date, which is probably pretty crappy of me, but it teeter-tottered between that song and Burns Like Her for a long time, I think. Because
that song is really good.
And that's the thing is when I heard...
And it had been out for a while.
Yeah, and
it was already streaming.
It's streaming like a mug, and I was like, they're for sure Warner's going to pull the trump card on this one, and they're going to take...
I had that happen to me.
Yeah. It's like, this is the one that's going to go for sure. And then, sure enough, they took that one, and, even with... When me and you had met, Tyler's known me for a long time, so he saw the mental battles and stuff that I was dealing with. But dude, I was broke. I was in more debt then than I'd ever. Me and him were moving. I don't remember what we were doing. We were moving something somewhere. I think it was we were moving Morgan out of her apartment or something, and we were talking, had been really stressed out, and he was like, bro, what's wrong with you? I was like, dude, I've got no money. And I am like, I don't know how I'm going to feed myself right now. And he's like, bro, go get a job. Try starting there. And I was just...
You fought me.
Wise wisdom from the man over there, dude.
I was so hard-headed on it because my thing was, I'd had a job working for a tree company for about a year, and I was only able to write twice a week. I'm sorry. And there was a lot of opportunities. People would reach out and be like, hey, can you jump on this write? Just publishers trying to help me out. And it was either take the write or lose my job. And for months, I picked keeping my job. And then one morning, I got up and somebody gave me a call, and it was a big songwriter in town, and I had no business writing with them. And it was just somebody pulling me a favor. And they were like, hey, they had their third fall off today. Can you jump on this write? And I was like, I'm going to lose my job. And I did. I called in to work that morning, and I was like, hey, I can't make it. Something's come up. I'm sorry. They fired me the next day. And from that point on, I was like, I can either do this 100% or, which I'm not saying that having a job has any hindrance on.
No, it does.
But in my mind, I used to tell him all the time, I'm going to be living under a bridge with nothing to my name before I ever decide to move home or give up. And he would say it all the time. He's like, well, you got too many friends to ever be living under a bridge. And I was like, well, I guess I'm never giving up. I'm going home. So I was in one of the worst parts. I was spiritually drained. I didn't have any, my faith was just kind of gone. I believed in God, and I knew God was there, and I knew what he could do. But in the early parts of this year, I was battling a lot of like, I'm not good enough. I don't really know what I'm doing here. Like, I've tried and tried and tried. I kept having meetings with publishers, and they would, give me the runaround, keep sending us some songs, man, keep doing the thing. And I was just super sick of hearing that. And granted, I'm sure having a song on a record and then it going to radio played a massive role in why I have my publishing deal. But I kept 100% of that song.
I was about to say, they're just admin fees on that, right?
Which, congrats on that, by the way. That's
Thank you, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, and some of the publishers, so I ended up getting 6 or 7 different offers, and every other offer that I got wanted 50% or more of that song. And I went in and sat down to talk with my plugger, Aubrey, and it was super laid back. Jordan Walker set it up. He was like, hey, before you sign anything, just let me introduce you to my publisher. Y'all have a meeting, have some coffee, just hang out. If it's not the right fit, then you go do your thing and it's all good. And I'd already knew Aubrey because her husband, Trey, is really good friends of ours. And so I already knew who she was. Not to mention she is a fantastic publisher. And went in and sat down and talked to her. And at the end of the meeting, I was really honest with her. I was like, listen, I've got a handful of other offers. I would really love to be here. My only stipulation is I'm not giving up any of my song with Randall. And she was like, okay, done. That's fine. And they gave me exactly what I was asking for a draw. They let me keep 100% of that song. And what that told me was they didn't believe in what I did. They believe in what I could do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And believe in growing me as a songwriter. And that's what they do, man. I mean, I think that Sony is one of, if not the best publishers in town. They're a big company, obviously, but it's very small hometown, like a very tight-knit group of people that just kind of love on each other. And I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah, this year's been, I got married, which is nuts.
Congrats.
Thanks. It's been nuts.
Yeah,
I heard the best man speech was the best man speech of all time.
It was pretty great.
Too. I got to hear it when he was working on it.
Dude, it was so good.
I want to hear it. Yeah, I think you should tell it after I say this. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
I feel like there's probably a lot of, I know there is. I know there's a lot of other independent artists and writers who follow this platform and listen along, and not even just here, but there's people that have messaged us and who are interested in coming up here and doing this, and to hear a success story out of someone that maybe seemingly felt like it wasn't going to be a success story is inspirational. I mean, even for me to hear, you know what I mean? So appreciate that.
Yeah, and dude, I had nothing to do with it at all. I mean, seriously.
Well, you were obedient.
Yeah, well, I was obedient to God, and God set things in motion for me to just step into.
And you believe in yourself too, even when you felt like nothing was going to work out. You were still like, you just said to yourself, like, I'm doing this, or I'm going to live under a bridge, or whatever.
And it's hard, dude. It's you have to have this blind stupidity.
It's an amount of self-delusion that's like,
oh, dude, that you have to be so delusional. Like my family back home, I'm sure yours is probably the same way, and probably even yours. Like they will tell you if they've told you once, they've told you 100 times. It may not work out. Be ready for that possibility. Have a plan B. And I've never had a plan B, ever. I've never, and that's just the delusion of this is going to work out. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, then you know,
It has to.
it has to. Yeah, it has to.
When you perform out of necessity, it's a lot different than just out of like pleasure. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's. Sorry, I'm fixing my mic.
Oh, you're good.
I've been messing with it too much.
You're good, bro.
Yeah,
I might throw a backer in real quick.
are you back here in? I might
I
still.
was hoping somebody had a Zen.
I don't have any.
I don't have one.
I got one dip.
I may take this. Oh, do you?
We were all about to bum off of you.
We can split it.
Nah, dude, we don't have to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a.
You want it?
No, bro.
Come on now.
No, I'm not taking that.
On air, I'm giving you my last dip. You can't turn that down.
I appreciate it, but
That's
I'm giving
honestly against the rules.
I'm giving it back.
No.
Okay,
No.
well, we're splitting it then.
I'll split it. Whatever.
I just spit my Zen out literally on myself. We don't have like a time curfew, do we?
No, dude. We can literally.
I
mean, the
pee, to be
camera
honest.
might go pee, dude.
Just don't even
We'll
cut
hold
it.
it.
Just
We'll
leave,
hold it
leave
down.
everything recording because that's
Yeah.
easier to edit.
Yeah.
We're splitting this deal.
We don't even
Tyler.
have to edit it.
We're splitting this.
We'll just
deal.
talk bad about you when you leave. Dude, did you know that Jasper?
Dude, do you still want Ryder's Cut on that song? I'm gonna.
That song is good. Jasper just cut a song called Winter Haven that he let me help him write.
Heck yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Winter Haven.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like the street that he grew up on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Jasper's a dog, bro. He be writing some good songs.
I believe it. That's
Where
it.
He's got another one that he cut called When the World Burns Down.
Mm-hmm.
It's dirty, dude.
That's a sick title. When the world burns down.
He's a sleeper. You wouldn't know it.
You know what? One of my favorite. I'm going to give you some flowers real quick. One of my favorite things about you, and I don't know if you remember this song or not, but that song "There's Always."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, the first time when I had that idea, I was like, I could do it this way, but I know if I tell Tyler about it, there's going to be something. There's going to be a flip that he has on it. And this is just everybody out there that's listening. This is how good of a songwriter Tyler Chambers is. I told you the idea, and immediately, without hesitation, you were like, yeah, like there's always, and just spit out how we could do it. And I was like, yep, that's right. I don't know what's wrong, but that's not it. You're right. That's how we write it.
Okay. We can, man, I got some more batteries.
Should be all right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if this is running, like...
Yeah, it'll be all right. Just run it, bro.
Yeah, if that one dies, we'll just... Yeah.
We'll just run it.
This is really...
Sorry, if you want to listen to the whole podcast, you gotta listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah. Just run it, bro.
Yeah, if the YouTube thing pops out, just go to Spotify. But
if you've listened for this long, hell yeah, brother.
Honestly, this is one of the best ones we've done, man.
Yeah, this has been good, and I mean I enjoy everything you just said about last year. I mean, because you're right, and there is, this, we all know this, we've all heard it a million times, and we can all attest to it. Like, there is no one path to success here.
Mm-mm.
Everyone's story is different, although there are some similarities, because like your song "Making It to Randall" reminds me a lot of Josh talking to us about how his song made it to Cody Johnson.
Right.
But dude, you're right. Like, I have a full-time job right now, and like I've talked about it with him a million times. Like, I've had a full-time job since I got here, since I graduated college, and dude, that balance of like having to do the job and also wanting to be like 100% this is your job,
Yeah.
is tough, dude.
Dude,
and like,
it's so...
There's also like, while I didn't have a wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, clock in type job, I was still hustling. Like, I was doing Uber Eats.
Yeah.
I was Ubering people. I was doing little side jobs, like where I could, anybody that offered me, like Langston one time called me. Cause I was telling people, I was like, man, if you need anything, like obviously Langston has land. He has, there's going to be times where he needs help. I'd be like, dude, if you need anything, please call me. I'll come do it for whatever you want to give me. I'll come and do it. And there's buddies like that would hit me up and be like, hey man, you know, I've got X, Y, and Z going on. I could really use an extra hand. Can you come help? And so, I mean, leaning on the community around me helped out a ton too, but I wasn't just sitting at home on my butt.
For sure. Oh, I mean, there's people that have pub deals that we know that is what they do. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, dude, there's people that, and here's one thing that I don't think people understand at all. When you sign a publishing deal, that's when the work really starts.
Yeah.
So now you're in the big leagues.
Now you are now stepping on to freaking Wrigley Field. Like, you're getting ready to play the game.
Yeah.
Don't walk 3 people in a row.
Yeah. And here the thing is too, when you sign a publishing deal, regardless of your track record in town, and mine, I didn't really have one. I had one song that had gotten cut. Everybody thought it was a great song, and it's one song. But your publisher, my publisher, you know, when you sign a publishing deal, your publisher is pitching you to people saying, hey, this is the new songwriter we just signed. You know, they kind of send them like your one sheet and like, this is what he's got going on. Yeah. And a lot of those people are like, nah, you know.
Yep.
A lot of people are like, yeah, we'll give it a try, we'll give it a shot, but you're fresh meat to them. They're writing with.
They know who they like. They know what songs they've gotten from X, Y, and Z.
They're already writing their hits. They're writing with Ashley Gorley. They're writing with Michael Tyler. They're writing with Josh Phillips. They're writing with guys that are already batting 1,000.
They got a track record.
Yeah.
It's such a. I think the worst thing to do is to sign a pub deal too early.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was borderline. Like, Randy took a big chance on me, and I think he really wanted to help me out. Obviously, I mean, that's what he was doing. But I think I look back on my writing, and I appreciate what you said earlier. I know we kind of got jumbled up in that, but I appreciate what you said about.
You're a great songwriter.
Thank you. Bro.
Like you, I mean, like we have our different isms, but and the way
we write great songs though.
Yeah, we do. We've never written a bad song. Room to Talk, Somewhere in a Small Town.
Hotter Than This.
Hotter Than This.
My publisher told me that's the best song I'd ever written.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, Bryce.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I was like, all right, pitch it.
What else have we written? What was that Mama's House song?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, what else have we written? There's Always.
Dude,
Fire in the Rain.
Fire in the Rain's good. You know what song I love is Come From Money.
Oh, yeah. On Georgia Retreat. Yeah. You know what song's another good song?
What?
Oh God, I gotta remember how it goes. I ain't gotta quit drinking, just gotta quit drinking so much and bringing you up like I always do. Whatever how the melody goes, drinking so much.
Yeah, we wrote that in Dixon, I think.
That was right during COVID. I remember we were driving down.
We should demo that.
Yeah, we were driving down Broadway.
Oh yeah,
and it was when it was right. I mean, I started having the mental battles with myself about drinking years ago, but I was like, man, I ain't got to quit. I don't need to quit drinking. I just need to quit drinking so much when I drank. And we were like, bang, dang, that's the song.
Yeah, we wrote the crap out of that one. But yeah, dude, we do, and I think Damon and I are very similar in this way. He is so different than me as a songwriter, but the way we sharpen each other's, like, and he's a lot. Our dynamic is a little different because me and you are more cadence, and we're both melody and cadence driven. And we love a good hook, obviously. We're songwriters, but like you get your cadence and melody in your head, and I get mine, and then we kind of just somebody gives here, somebody gives there, and then you find your way to the finish line. And Damon and I, he's very lyrical. Yeah, and I'm like, that's a great word, but it sings like crap.
Yeah, you can't. There's certain words you just can't.
Yeah.
You just like. I started messing with we should actually write this. It's called Notable Mention. I probably shouldn't say it out.
It's okay.
We can blog it.
No, they won't write it like we do.
I was about to say if I hear a song come out that's called this, I'm gonna know.
I'm just gonna take it out for you.
No, dude, don't take it out. Dude, let it roll. I don't care. But it's really hard to sing. Notable Mention is like it's weird, and you can't find. You can, but there's. I love melodies, and if you listen to a lot of the songs like Blue Sky's Beautiful or I Could Be That Rain or
I could be that rain.
yeah, like someone else's summer. They're these big these big long drawn out melodies.
Yeah.
And I think that I like singing, and I think that's
you like singing.
Yeah, I do.
There's a guitar. Speaking of, we'll have you play it in a minute, but there's a guitar in the room. He's picking that thing up.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Honestly, I envy you a little bit.
Here's the thing and why I do that. I do this a lot, and this is a really great example of this, actually. At Sony, whenever I go to write, whether I'm writing in the fire hall or sometimes I get there like 10:30, I'll get there a little bit earlier just to like prepare for the day. And like, I think you're like this. You like to just prepare for the write.
Mm-hmm.
And
mentally.
Yeah, mentally. Yeah. I mean, you want to have something that so when whoever you're writing with comes in, you've got like...
Yeah, you're ready.
You're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs trying to figure out an idea. Like you at least have something ready.
Mm-hmm.
But whether I get there at 10:30 or there's been times where I didn't even have a write, but I was downtown getting coffee, I'll still go to Sony and I'll walk up on the third floor at 11 o'clock and there's not hundreds, there's tons of songwriters standing there grabbing coffee, talking, shooting, you know.
It's like the locker room, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. And the question's always going to come up, who you writing with today, bud?
Yep.
And if I don't have a write, oh man, I'm just going to I'm going to write by myself today and, you know, just kind of mess with stuff.
We did that the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You did that. And I was like, dude, why don't you just write with us?
Yeah. And it happens all the time. Just show up. Mm-hmm. It's literally all you have to do is be there. If you pick up a guitar in a room with a couple of songwriters and you start playing something, somebody might go, what is that, dude? That's kind of cool. I like that. Is there something, you have anything going with that? And it's literally just being in the room, present, and allowing some kind of creative spirituality to be around. And there's been more times than not where I have not had a write that day. And I just show up at Sony. And if I don't get pulled in on a write, that's fine too. But I present myself and I open the door for the opportunity for somebody to be like, who you write with today? And I'm like, oh man, nobody. I'm just writing by myself. And I'm like, oh dude, jump in with us.
Yeah. What were we just talking about before that? Do y'all remember? I think I lost my train of thought.
You started that whole previous conversation on saying thanks to him.
Yeah, I was getting somewhere
being
with
a writer
it.
And you were going somewhere with writing.
What were we talking about before that? Do you remember?
Damon, great lyricist.
Oh,
can't fit certain words.
Crap, I was going somewhere good with it. And I can't remember what it was.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I knocked you off track.
It's all good. But
well, I do like something that you said at the beginning of all that, way before.
Oh, I think it was. Sorry, not to interrupt you.
Hush.
You know what? I'm gonna shut up. You finish your thought.
No.
I have it. I locked it in.
I have to know what you were gonna say.
I was just talking about getting a pub deal too early.
That's what I was going to get back to.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going back to.
Okay.
Perfect. We're coming full circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think that you can do that. And I think I've seen people, especially at Warner, seen it happen, bro, where they just get signed too early and people just don't want to get back in there with you. And it's like, man, thank God that I was developing my craft enough by the time that I got my deal that I was ready.
No doubt.
And at least maybe not ready, but like I could go into a room and have an idea, have a guitar lick, or have a melody.
Yeah.
And I at least know if I bring one of those three things out of the three people that's in the room, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Matt Roy, actually, was the guy that...
Great songwriter.
Yeah, incredible. He low-key taught me how to write songs. I don't know why he wrote with me. Actually, I do. Because I brought hooks. Because I knew he liked hooks.
Yeah. He is that boy can write.
Yeah, he can write great songs. But that was like probably 2016, 2017, but I just understood the importance of a good idea from an early age. Because he was like, no, we're not writing that unless it's like awesome. Because you can have
you have to have enough to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you have, just because you have a great idea Doesn't mean you're going to write a great song, but it opens the possibility for you to do so. But the thing is you'll hear a great idea and you'll be like, oh man, we have to write that today.
Yes.
And you don't think about what can we say in the verses? Is there enough material here to where we're not repeating ourselves and the whole thing is interesting enough for somebody to listen for a whole 3 minutes?
Yeah. We did it the other day when we were first starting to try to write Jail or Hell. And we just kept,
and then we wrote Halfway to Georgia.
Yeah, we're like, all right, this is title's still sick, idea's still sick.
Yeah,
but everything else is just like, how do you do this?
And that doesn't mean it won't come about. Like me and Joey,
I did. I wrote it.
Yeah,
next week
after.
Me and Joey started a song this had to have been like over a year ago, and it's called. I was still living in the Hermitage house when we started writing the song. It's called Maybe We Should Talk About Last Night.
Oh yeah, I know that.
And we wrote the song, and this chorus was sick, and I did not think we nailed the verses. I was like, I would cut the song strictly because of the chorus, but I would just sing the chorus 3 times.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear the verses.
Don't you hate that?
And I was like, man, we have to rewrite these verses. Have to rewrite these verses. Have to rewrite them. And we did the other day, and I'm no doubt probably going to cut it.
Awesome.
Because it's like,
you got to dig, man.
Good ideas are still worth going on.
Yeah, House That Built Me. It took 7 years later they rewrote it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did with Nowhere Prayers. I had a whole verse. Actually, I went to a co-write to write Nowhere Prayers because I had everything in my head. Like, I love this title. I know the story. I know exactly how it goes. We sat down and we were there for 4 hours, 2 other guys, and like, we didn't get it. And I left there so disappointed. A month later, I rewrote it, and I hated it.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was almost there, dude. It was like the same thing that happened, though. I was like, man, like, there's so much of this that I love, but it's not scratching that itch that I knew I had.
It kind of boils down to discipline.
Yeah, dude. And then 6 months later, I rewrote it by myself and was like, as soon as I put the guitar down, I was like, I got it. That is the one I was looking for. And it just proves the point that a good idea it's still worth going back to if you don't get it immediately.
Yeah. Room to Talk. Before that, it was Get to Know Me.
Yeah.
And we rewrote it.
Wait, dude, my publisher asked me the date of creation for that today. Do you know it?
Not off the top of my head. We can
do you have it somewhere, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so weird you said that.
Going back to what you said earlier, though, and what I was going to circle back to about signing a pub deal or any deal too early, like, dude, that's so big because, like, a few years ago, I felt like everyone around me was, like, signing a pub deal, and I was like, dude, when am I going to sign a pub deal? And I'm so thankful that it didn't happen then because I wouldn't have been ready.
Yeah. Well, dude, once your name is stained in Nashville, it's really hard to get the stain out.
So hard, bro. And we all know people that's going down that road.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Bro. And here's the thing is I'm part of the problem. You're part of the problem.
Yeah.
If you write with somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
And you don't, and it doesn't go good, you may write with them one more time. But if you strike out twice,
I'm not getting back in there.
Yeah,
probably.
We've talked about it.
You're not doing it. I was writing with Jameson and Smith the other day, and they've been buddies for years, and they've been writing songs together for years. And it was the first time me and Jameson ever wrote, like the second or third time me and Smith had ever wrote. And Jameson was like, him and Smith had written like 3 or 4 times prior to that day and got nothing. And if you don't have that built trust in the other person to know, like,
no doubt,
I know that we can write good songs because we've done it. Today, the idea is just not here today.
Yeah,
Vibes off, something's weird. We're just not getting a good song. If you don't already have that established,
forget it.
You can forget it.
That's why it's so important to do both of the things that y'all just said. One, you said show up too, and you said like come ready with something.
Yeah.
Because like the worst thing that can happen is you get that one right. It's just like we've never written together before, and neither one of us got anything at all out of this. It makes it really hard to want to get back in the room with that person. Like,
or also like you kind of have to ante up like your intellectual process. Like, I know that's a weird way to say it, but like everybody's throwing something on the table that like I could have a really good idea and I have to trust y'all with it.
Yeah.
You know, like I could And you know, like I could be that rain or whatever. The day that you wrote that, like you had to trust Mason with that idea.
Oh, Mason, that was Mason's idea,
or vice versa. But either way, like,
you got to. I mean, and when you do have, you know what your thing is, right? And like everyone does, and it evolves and changes. I was in a co-write. I don't know. This might have been like 2 years ago. I was writing with Justin and Clay, and we used to write together all the time. And it was one of those writes where y'all probably been there, where it's like you just feel like it's one of those days where you're bringing nothing. Like, you might as well just tell them before you walk out. You ain't even got to add me on the song, dude.
Yeah,
I was having one of those days. Actually, it's funny. It was for that Mama Still Thinks song for Justin. I didn't bring nothing to the table, dude. I was sitting there like, dude, I might as well just go home. And they didn't have a title yet, and they kept going through it, and they were like, dude, what the heck how are we gonna get to the hook? What are we gonna call this? And I was like, I don't know. What if you just call it like Mama Still Thinks? And Clay was like, yep, that's why we keep writing with you, Jasper, because you always bring the freaking title in the room. And I was like, good, I got something in here today.
Yeah.
Like, but it takes that.
Yeah, you have to find. I'm actually really bad at this. This is a practice that I'm trying to implement more in my life. But you have to know what you're good at in a room. And if it's a little bit of everything, that's great. Mm-hmm. If it's one thing that you're really, really good at, stick to that one thing and do it well. And something I'm bad about doing is like I'll get on Spotify and I'll listen to songs and I'll get in a headspace of, man, I need to write a song.
I know,
I need to do this. And if you do that, you are screwing yourself.
You 100% are.
Because I can't write a Dylan Marlowe song.
Yep.
The way that Dylan Marlowe is going to write a song.
Yep.
I can't write a Tyler Chambers song the way that Tyler Chambers is going to write a song. I can write a Brian Fuller song the way that Brian Fuller is going to write a song.
Yes, you can.
What's that?
I said, yes, you can. You write the hell out of them.
Thanks, man. But if you get in that headspace, like, you're just digging yourself a hole because you're going to get in there and you're going to try to say the things that person's going to say. You would try to
no doubt
write the way that person's going to write. You're going to try to have the same mannerisms.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work.
It's not going to be your thing. And like I went through that. We've all gone through that.
I still do it.
I did it the opposite of that to prove the point. Like this year myself, which to be completely honest, dude, like I don't really know what my thing is yet. Like to myself, like I don't know what my thing is as a writer, but to what you were just talking about, I've consumed less music this year than I ever have. Like I've been driving in silence more than I ever have, and it wasn't for that reason. But I think because of that, dude, like it really helped me write some of the songs that I've written recently that I would consider different than anything else I've ever written.
Yeah.
And stuff that I'm proud of, and I think it had a lot to do with that. I'm sure I was influenced by things, but I wasn't being like, man, I really want to write that. I wasn't listening to nothing. I was just like, the last 3 songs that I've been the most proud of have been from a place of like, I picked the guitar up, I picked something, I found a melody and a storyline that I loved, and I rolled with it. And it sounds different than anything else I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with me being like, because I was bad about the Muscadine thing for a while. Because I'm from Alabama. When they were getting hot, I was like, well, dude, I need to write songs like Muscadine if I want to make it. I did the same thing with Riley Green before I left Alabama. I was like, well, dude, I need to write a Bury Me in Dixie too. And I tried my best. Like, it doesn't work.
If anything, you should write for a feel. You should hear how a song.
Sure.
You should hear how a song feels, and a good way to do that is listen to like your influences. Like if Eric Church is a big influence in how you want your music. You don't want to be Eric Church or sound like Eric Church, but if you want to construct songs,
live in that space.
Yeah, if you want to be, if one day you want somebody to say, man, your music kind of reminds me of like Eric Church. Yeah. Listen to some of that stuff. I go back and listen to like Mayberry by Rascal Flatts or anything 2000s Keith Urban, like stuff like that I grew up on, and you listen to it and it gives you the feeling that you had when you were 16 and you're like, I want to be a freaking songwriter.
I agree. And I think that was so key of what you just said of writing on feel base versus writing to sound like.
Yeah.
Because I told my girlfriend that the other day, like a band that I've been on, dude, for the last 2 years is 49 Winchester. Mm-hmm. I love them. And one of the songs I wrote the other day had a line in it, and I was like, man, that just feels like a 49 line.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a 49 line. It wasn't written like a 49 line, but it freaking feels like it would fit in on the record. And I was so stoked. I was stoked about myself where I was like, man, that feels like that lane. And I was like, love that.
Yeah. And then there's the other side of that coin too. If you just want to be a songwriter, then that's kind of where you try to get yourself in that headspace of, okay, what would Hardy say if he was writing this song right now? Or what would so-and-so say if he was writing? That's being just a songwriter is where implementing that practice of indulging in a ton of music is super helpful. And then you even have like, I wrote with a guy named Mitchell Oglesby today, and he's got a bunch of Chris Jansen cuts, and that's his guy.
Yeah.
Ray Fulcher, Luke Combs is his guy.
Right.
Josh Phillips, Brantley Gilbert is his guy. And that's where these camps form. And it's not so much, oh, this person is, they're not ripping songs or they're not copying songs. They're getting in the headspace of this person. And if an artist is good enough at it and is able to showcase his upbringing or be able to, when you listen to their songs, you're like, oh, that's honest. Yeah. I know that person lived through something like that. Then it gives the songwriter a chance to get inside the head and be like, okay, he was a small town guy.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time fishing with his dad. Really loves the Lord. Really loves hunting. Whatever it is, like those are cliche things. But then you can get in that person's head and start writing songs like them. But if you want to be an artist and say your own thing, I'm for sure not going to go listen to Dylan Marler's record and be like, oh, I have to write songs like Dylan Marler.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at his thing and nobody wants two of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's super important for you to say that, especially for any new artists that are listening. Because, like, you know how it is when you're a new, I don't mean new to a deal. I don't even mean new to town. I mean new like you're still in your home state dreaming of moving up here new. All you want to do is sound like the person you love, right? So you get in your head that like maybe your brother, right? Like obviously he has you to lean on, but let's just say your brother's some other guy, 14-year-old in Georgia, and he's like in love with Dylan and the way Dylan sounds. And he's like, well, it's working for Dylan. So I need to do what Dylan's doing for it to work for me too.
Yeah.
That's where we all start of like, I told him the other night, like 15 years old, I went and watched Luke Bryan play Oak Mountain Amphitheater. I was on the very top. Mm-hmm. And I watched him play and I was like, that right there is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So what did I go home and do? Try to write a Luke Bryan song.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me,
Do I turn you on when I kiss you, baby? There's also something to be said about when you first move to town, and it's a really hard pill to swallow. And I wish even me saying this to somebody that's maybe just moved to town, if somebody would have said it to me, I wouldn't have listened, and I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Because that's just that, once again, that's a little bit of that blind stupidity kicking in. But, and for you to actually find who you are as an artist, it is going to take a long time.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not, you've seen it with me. I grew up country. I know how to speak the country language. But I loved the Kings of Leon. I loved rap, Jack Harlow. I loved all of this music. And I went into different phases where I thought, maybe I want to be like this. Maybe I put a song out called More of You. Remember that forever ago? It was like a Kings of Leon song. I had no business doing it, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to say. And at the end of all of it,
do is just throw it at the wall, though.
Yeah.
We all did it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more of, it's that need deep down in your bones to want to be unique, and there's something that you want to say, and you know that you want to say it, you just don't know how you want to say it.
Right.
You don't know how to say what it is that you're feeling. And you have to go through a lot of trial and error to figure that out. And 9 times out of 10, if you just revert back to how you felt when you were 16, 17 years old,
I agree.
that's probably right.
That's exactly it.
Because when I first I went through the Kings of Leon thing. I was like, maybe this is how I want to sound. And then I went from that to the EP that I put out 2 years ago. It was like Burn Me Out and Dive Bar Darling. And it was a little bit more like, what would be the word? It was a little bit more like, I don't even know the right word. John Mayer-ish, I think. You know, guitar parts and all of this integral stuff. And then after I got on the other side of that, I was like, that doesn't fire me up as much as I thought it would. And then I come back around, I'm like, Somewhere in a Small Town. That was when I put that song on, I was really pumped. Maybe that's who I am. And then you kind of slip back in your old skin, and you're like, this feels comfortable. This fits. You know, this is who I feel. You try to be somebody that you're not. You get here, and they're like, be different. Be, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes being the person that you are is just like 10 other people, and that's fine. Write good songs, be who you are, and authenticity that is what's going to make you, being authentic is what's going to make you different, even if you're just like 10 other people.
Because you are different.
Yeah, nobody's the same, dude. Like, me and Tyler, in our heyday, we were running around being hooligans and doing X, Y, and Z, and we ended up being the same person. You know, we're country boys, and we're, you know, cut from the same cloth, but we have two completely different stories. And we can tell those two different stories in country music in different ways. Yeah. Like, I can talk about songs ran in the family. I can have that song and kind of speak out about some of the stuff that I dealt with as a kid. And Tyler can do the same thing. You know, it's not, I mean, country music is, you don't have to have pop and all these different outlets of country in order to be different. Just make country music. Haggard and Whitley, all those guys sounded pretty much the same. You know, they were all, 80s and 90s country was, you know, not far off from the next guy next door. Like, it was all very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nobody's special, but everybody's sacred.
Yeah. And we all have our own things about us.
Yeah,
you know?
We do.
You've said it before, you know, God isn't going to put more on our shoulders than we can carry. And sometimes you can carry more than I can carry, and I can carry more than you can carry in some ways. And that's what makes you different.
Yeah.
That's what makes you unique, is you're a lot tougher than I am in a lot of ways. And in some ways, I may be tougher than you are.
I was about to say, I don't know about that.
I mean,
you're a tough dude.
I'm not. If we're talking about if we're getting in a fight, I ain't fighting you. Me and Marty P talked about this the other day. We were like, I'm not fighting Tyler.
Dude.
We're not.
I don't know if you saw the post we put on GodDog the other day, where it was me and him on the truck, and I was like, who wins in a fight, us or a silverback gorilla? Well, this dude commented on it and was like,
Tyler's finding a way to beat that silverback gorilla.
No, they were like, dude, he was like, I thought the comment was going to say who would win in a fight between the two of us. And I commented back from GodDog and was like, well, clearly it would be Jasper who would win in the fight. And I guess he didn't know. I guess he don't know which one of us is which, because he was like, yeah, man, I was going to say the same thing. And I was like, he definitely don't know which one's which, because Tyler is definitely the one that would win that.
Tyler's scrappy, bro.
I watched that man in the gym, so I'm good.
Listen, I'm pulling a story out of the archive right now, but we were in Red Door one night, and Tyler.
Oh God, I remember this.
By the way,
this is pretty funny.
Before you say it, I gotta say it, because I've said it every time. We've almost made it every single episode with a story of Tyler at Red Door being in every one of them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like, we're batting a really good average right now.
Tyler, there was this one night. I don't remember what started the debacle or what it was, but there was this guy that was just being a pest, and you know, Jesus says to love everybody, but it was real hard to love this fella this night. And Tyler stood up and was like, "Hey man, you know, there's plenty of other tables in this bar. Go find another one to bother. Stop bothering this one." And this guy just kept on and kept. I don't remember what it was about, but Tyler got up and got in this dude's face and was like, "All right, like this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And the dude pushed Tyler, and Tyler just with all the force that he had from his feet to his knee, just all the way through his body, grabbed this dude and shoved him. And this dude went, literally flying across the room over a table.
He was a big dude.
Yeah, landed on his back, and Tyler's just standing over him, like ready for this guy to get up and retaliate. And this dude just gets up, and I'm sure he could probably feel it. He was like, "That's a strong son of a... I'm not gonna mess with him." And he walked off.
And it's all my childhood insecurities.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I wouldn't fight you.
I think I have, I remember that night, and I know what happened, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
I think I'm just very, like, protective, especially of my friends and people that I love. And if like, there's people around me, if there's going to be a problem, like, I want to be the person to handle it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like
you've been the gatekeeper of our group chat for anytime somebody new. Like, we had a buddy of ours that was trying to get into our group chat on Snapchat, and Tyler was straight up like, "No, you're not. We're not letting you in."
I don't remember this.
It was Justin.
Oh, crap.
And he played it off like, "Oh, that's whatever." And Justin had just moved to town. He was trying to like find He was trying to like find his crew.
Yeah.
And I met Justin through Tyler. Tyler was like kind of who not ushered him into town, but kind of like, was like, "Hey, if there's a path to walk down, it's this one right here."
Yeah.
And I remember then Justin's this kind of like, he's just laid back, like, whatever, dude, I don't care. But it bothered him, dude. It ate at his core.
I bet it did.
That you wouldn't. And I can't remember what.
But, dude, honestly, like...
It's hazing. Tyler hazes.
That's not true, though. That's not true. The only person that got hazed was Noah.
Yeah.
Noah got hazed.
Picking up sticks in the backyard.
But that, I remember it now, but... Like, those were all of our boys. Like, we've been here for years.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I didn't like him or I didn't, like, want him to enjoy like, the camaraderie, but it was just like, these dudes don't know you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it would just be weird.
Yeah.
It would just be weird.
There was people that got put in the group chat that, you know this. Yeah. There was people that got put in there that I was like, if this person's in, I'm out.
Yeah.
And they kicked him out. He ain't in it no more.
Yeah.
And it's not like you said, those are just the homies. Like, we talk to each other in a way of endearment, obviously, but we don't want, there's things that you don't want to break down and tell somebody that doesn't know you well.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's even with like supper club that we have. It's like, those are my favorite nights because even just like last night, just sitting on the couch watching baseball, we didn't talk about a lot, but we said everything we needed to talk about.
Yep.
And I think we all left feeling like the tank was full.
Yeah.
And then you get to carry that out through the rest of the month. And you need those people, man. That's whether that's in a small group or however you can build that community. You need the buddies that, I'm glad that we're friends.
Me too, bro.
I was excited to come in here and do this because I knew it was going to be fun. And it's like.
That's what we wanted to feel like.
Yeah, and I know that when y'all have Marty on here, it's going to be the same way. Or when you have Dylan on, whoever, there's a certain group of people that you'll have on here that the podcast will just be a little bit better because
the camaraderie,
that's already there. Yeah,
I agree with that 100%.
Not excluding you. I'm just saying, like,
Jasper's already here. He's
I agree with it. Like, there's something to that. Like, I didn't know Josh Phillips at all as a person. And, like, we've told this story, but, like, we shot an episode with him and we butchered it, dude. It was bad. We didn't use it. So we had to reshoot it. And when we ran the second one.
What was bad about it?
We were like, the audio was messed up. Just like.
Oh, I got you.
Like, technically, it was. It was a great episode.
Except for the part where I told Josh that I baked
I'm going to show you this video, dude. This is hilarious. I'll bring that up in a second. But to that point, we brought him on a second time. And it was like, we already had this, like, we had inside jokes. We had things. And it was like, it was so laid back. It felt 10 times different.
Yeah.
He here's one of the main reasons why, bro. This just broke the freaking fourth wall down. We're sitting in the middle of this podcast, right? And it was going great. It was a great episode. And Tyler, we were talking about his neighbor who doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah.
And Tyler was trying to say, we were talking about him. Tyler was trying to say that he had baked this dude cookies before him and Morgan had baked them cookies to like introduce themselves.
To love our neighbor.
And it came out as I baked this guy's cookies. And dude, it was hilarious. You got to watch this, bro.
I baked this guy's cookies,
So
man.
thankfully we still had the video footage from the first episode. So we brought it up on the second episode and inserted it in, bro. It's so funny.
You have to keep that clip. We're putting it in right. You have to.
Just watch how funny it gets.
My
though, dude.
face, dude.
I baked this guy's cookie.
That's the name of this podcast.
My face was sheer panic because I
Dude.
knew as soon as it came out. there
God,
was
that's
no-
funny. I baked this guy's cookie.
And it was the funniest moment, dude. Anyways, but yeah, you're right, bro. It's all about community and camaraderie, and it is hard to just break into that.
Yeah, my favorite line in Tyler's. So for those of y'all that don't know, Tyler was my best man in my wedding, and my favorite line of his speech was, "You know, they say when you move to town not to meet your heroes. Well, then Brian met me."
I know, dude.
And I lost it. That was so. His speech was.
It was great.
Yeah,
He
it
called
was-
me and was like, "Tell me if you think this is good." And he read the whole thing, and I was like, "Bro, it's hilarious."
Let's go.
It was so. The funny thing is too is I could look at Tyler and I could tell the way that he was talking. He wasn't nervous, but I looked over at his hand and he was like,
Yeah, dude, I was
how-
shaking so much.
I was that way at my sister's
It's
wedding.
important though, man. I
It
mean,
is.
like, my mom was in town probably like 2 months ago. We went to look at our wedding venue,
We still got yours. This one's down.
and she was talking about like rehearsal dinner and who was going to speak and all that. And I was like, I want everybody to speak. Like,
"Yeah,
I want it to be like an open mic at
Yeah.
our wedding. I don't care. You don't even have to say anything about me. Like, you
Yeah.
can say something about my uncle or my cousin that you met. I don't
Yeah.
care, but I just want, like, I love just loving on people.
Yeah.
You know, no, like, not in a weird way, but in a way that, like, I heard Kevin Queen say this one time in church a couple years ago. He was like, when my son turned 13, we had this pool party, and all of his friends were over there, and we had the table with the presents on it and a cake, and before we did that, gosh, I can't remember. I think, is it Bolton? I think
His
that's it.
son?
Yeah.
Bolton,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was Bolton's birthday. And I think I'm recalling this correctly. I'm not sure. They'll probably correct me, but he said that before they lit the candles on the birthday cake, he called his son up there and was like, "Hey, everybody, like, I have an announcement to make." And he stood his son right in front of him, put his hands on his shoulders, and he said, "This is my son, Bolton, and I'm so pleased with him.
yeah,
He's a freaking great kid. He minds his parents. Like, he loves God. He does things that we ask him to do. You know, he reads his Bible. He was just filling this kid up. And, like, obviously the kid wasn't on stage, but the way that he was, like, interacting with the crowd or the church, you could tell, like, he really wanted to do that for his
yeah.
kid.
I think I
And-
remember that story.
Yeah. And ever since that day, I'm like, why don't we do that more?
Yeah.
And I think this is a great reason to have a podcast, too. You get to, you know, sit here and love on people that, you know, we compliment each other all the time, but at the same time, you can go back and listen to it and be like, dang, that was really nice of Brian to say that.
And
But
then you get your buddies or you get people listening that are like, "Oh man, my friend." It's kind of like it allows you to step back and say, "Are my friends?" Because friends like you and friends like Dylan and Mark, like the people that I'm friends with, they're out there. Like you can also have that
yeah.
if you don't already have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of having to step back and be like, you know, nobody wants to like disown friends.
Mm-hmm.
But if your friends aren't building you up,
It's hard
Yeah.
to back off.
You got
Yeah,
gotta
like
have
you-
that.
We've
need-
talked about it a lot.
yeah, I mean,
It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it is important.
Well, it's something that you got to put into practice. But I was getting back to my mom being up here, like we were talking about all that stuff, and that story about Kevin Queen came into my mind. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I just want, like, I want to speak at my wedding. Like, I'm probably gonna write a speech for like all my, like the best men that are, or my groomsmen, my family, Morgan's family. Like, I want to address the people that came there in a formal way and be like, hey, I love all of you so much. And you did that.
I wrote y'all notes.
Yeah. Dude, that note's on my mirror in my bedroom. It's freaking awesome.
Do you remember what you told me about why you wanted to do that when you were talking to her?
Well, I was trying to get there. But I told my mom, I was like, I just like would like to give people their flowers before they die.
Yeah.
Because the only time that people say that stuff is after they're gone, after you're dead, and and you never get to hear it. So it's like, I want to, like, there's a guy, his name is Tommy Tent. I met him in Wyoming when I lived out there like 8-9 years ago. And he's coming to the wedding. He sent us like a $200 dinner gift card. And like, he's going to make a drive from North Carolina. It's going to be like 8 hours. He's probably going to get a hotel, you know, and his wife's going to come, and I'm going to sit up there and I'm going to thank him too. Yeah. You know, like, I think that there's just there's so many missed opportunities to just love on people. And I think it's really important.
You said it to me in a way that when you were talking to your mom, and mom was like, wow, you want, like, that's what people do at a funeral. Mm-hmm. And you were like, yeah, I know, but I want to be alive to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so true, bro. I've quoted that 1,000,000 times since you said it, because it's so true. It's like, bro, why wait to build somebody up or tell them the truth or tell them?
You know why people don't do it? Because they can't.
Yeah.
They don't know how.
I don't know how. It's hard. It's scary.
Yeah. They don't know. And that's why, like, dude. This is where I was getting, because I was shaking up there saying that speech, but I knew it was important. Like, of course it was funny. Yeah. But, like, I really wanted y'all to feel like, hey, you know, like, sure, there's best men and, like, the maid of honor and all that stuff in the weddings, but, like, I wanted y'all to know that, you know, anything, like, I'm here.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And two, I mean, dude, the camaraderie just in, like, when we were in the groom suite hanging out and getting, like, we cut off all day. It was fun. Like, talked a little bit of politics, and nobody, like,
got in a fight.
It never got too heated. And, like, Austin Meyer is somebody that I was super good friends with for years, and we don't talk that much. Like, we talk maybe once or twice a month, maybe. But I always knew, like, when me and him lived in Statesboro together, I was like, that's somebody, I want to have him at my wedding, no matter what. And that never changed, because every time I call him and talk to him, that's like, I build him up, he builds me up. You know, we talk about hunting or guns, or he's a huge gun fanatic. But and that was why, like, even Brandon Mew and Dylan and my little brother, you, Joey, you know, Chris, I knew I was leaving somebody out. It was just a great time for me to be able to sit in a room with all of my close friends, regardless if we talk all the time, and be like, I made good choices. Yeah. Like, I made the right choices in friends. And there's a lot of friends that weren't in the wedding that I obviously love, and I think very dearly of them, and they're, you know, I call them and talk to them all the time. But there's just something about, you know, it's like getting married itself. When you meet somebody, you're like, okay, there's something there. Like, this is more than just somebody I'll call every once in a while, or this is more than somebody that, you know, when we talk, it'd be like, oh man, how you doing? Pretty good. All right, it's been good talking to you. You know, see you later. You know, like, you care about their life, you care about their family, I care about Morgan, you care about Katie, and, you know, there's just a special bond between the homies, man. Yeah. Like,
especially when God is involved.
Yeah.
It's different.
You throw Jesus into the mix, man, things just are, like, so much better.
It's different, dude.
Yeah.
And on that point, like, me and you and even Dylan, we have seen each other at our absolute worst. Yeah. And not meaning like broke down poor or we've seen each other where we thought we were on top of the world, acting like we knew better, and we carried ourselves that way. And then I watched you get humbled. You've watched me get humbled. We've watched Dylan get humbled. He's watched us get we've all seen the high points and the low points. And it's all like we've just kind of walked hand in hand. I mean, we got baptized together.
Yep.
Like
September 12th.
Yeah. And it's just, one of those things that if you're somebody that is willing to grow and you have friends that are also willing to grow, just like whenever you called me after the retreat from Georgia and you're like, hey, if I didn't say this to you, this was going to bother me. And I feel like because we're buddies, I have to. And obviously I wasn't too pumped when we talked on the phone, but
I wasn't pumped either.
After we hung up, I was like, all right, he's got some points. And, those are things you work on and those are things you grow together. And, when you found Jesus, it was right around the time that I started following Jesus a lot closer, and we would realize things, and I'd call you and be like, dude, I read this today and I thought it was really encouraging and I just wanted to share this message with you. And then you would do the same thing for me. And, even me, you and Marty and me, all of our buddies in our circle. And that's part of finding, even in the music business, that's part of finding out who you are and being part of a community that is like, hey, you screwed up here, but I love you anyways, and we're gonna figure it out together.
Yeah,
that's being a good friend.
Yeah, we're gonna walk together through it.
Yeah, dude, and then also being someone that's capable of listening to.
It takes a lot. Takes a lot.
And I'm gonna try and not get lost in the sauce here because I'm gonna trump this one. I'm gonna do the weave.
He's gonna do the weave.
Do y'all need to charge your how much back? I don't know.
The other one's still running. We're just here. We're just here, dude. If they're still listening along, go buy the merch that we haven't put out yet. Maybe if this is 7 months down the road and you're listening, maybe there's merch out. Go listen to Brian's music, Tyler's music, Jasper.
I'll put my Venmo.
Hey, where's our plug? Plug right there.
Was that Andy Austin doing that?
That was me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Nice.
I talked to him the other night, by the way.
They're coming to Friendsgiving.
Are they?
Yeah, him and Veronica.
Yeah.
That's her name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was making sure.
What was I gonna weave?
Damn, sorry.
Oh yeah. It was listening, I think.
Yeah.
Being someone that can listen, bro. Because God, I think that God is the only person that can open the ears and the eyes on your heart. And I think that if he doesn't do that, then I don't think I would ever be capable of or if God hadn't done that for me, I don't think I was ever going to be the type of person that was capable of listening to constructive criticism from people that I love. And having the ability to do that is so hard, but once you learn how to do it, and if you are around people that do it wisely and not out of anger or anything malicious, you can have a conversation with them and everybody be heard and be like, okay, well, maybe I was wrong there and maybe even I was wrong here. And, damn, we learned something about each other and we're both going to be better for it now. But the weave here is how that translates to a writer's room. And I've seen you do this a lot better here in the past year or so. I think it was really, and we talked about this, I think after Rain went, I think I saw you kind of just pull the lever on the recliner a little bit in the writer's room.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we were in Georgia, we got there the first day and we started writing a song and you were fired up. And you're like, no, it's got to be this way. It's got to be this way. And I was like, bro, why is it like that? We can just write a song.
Yeah.
And we can both say things and whatever. And we were just kind of iron sharpening iron in that moment. And you're like, I don't know. I'm just always like this. It's just how it's got to be. I think it's got to be this way. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be that way, but right now it can be. And
I'll let you win this one.
Yeah. But since then, and it took me almost 3.5 years into my pub deal to be able to sit down and write a song and somebody go, hey man, I don't necessarily think that's the best thing here. And in my brain, I'm like, that is the best thing.
Yeah.
There's no way that's not it. But then being able to go, there's 2 other people in this room.
Yep.
They also do the same thing as me.
Yep.
They're pretty smart people because they wouldn't be here if they weren't. Maybe I should listen to them.
Yeah.
And it's like you grow. Just the amount that you can grow if you learn how to do that as a songwriter is just exponential.
Yeah.
I think
And in life,
there's some peace. I have 2 things I want to say because there's something that you said a minute ago that reminded me of a conversation we had last night. But there's 2 things, or there's something to be said about once, because when you get here, you're constantly trying to prove yourself and you're constantly trying to show that you are the best in the room or show that you deserve to be in that spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of creates that sense of urgency of it has to be this way.
Yeah.
This is the way it has to be.
Yeah.
Because if it's not this way, that means that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, that might mean that I'm not as good as I
you're
thought
not
I
the
was.
guy.
Yeah.
Like if you're wrong, you might not be the guy.
Exactly. So, and then once you kind of, I mean, I don't know if having a song, I don't know what changed it in me, but there's a little bit of me now that if it's not what I thought it was, I'm totally open to hearing what other people think it is. And if I don't agree that that's what it is either, because there is a thing that when the right line is said, you're like, that's it.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
doubt.
I know that's it.
Yeah. And everyone knows.
And everybody else knows it too, because everybody's like,
Yeah, that's it.
we don't
Yeah.
need to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you move on. But there's definitely a piece of it's just part of growing as a songwriter, I think, and allowing other people to control the room and not trying to be. It's just
That letting the idea control the room and not people.
and a good idea to do, like even like today when we sat down and started writing, it just clicked, and it was like, this may not be the best song ever written, but it's the best song that we're going to write in here today. And it makes sense. Everything feels good. The song feels right. Everything, like, it's moving. The creative juices are flowing. We're not hitting roadblocks.
Yeah.
And there's some people that you get in a room with. Like, there's definitely some songwriters that I've gotten in a room with and started writing, and you can tell that they feel as if they have superiority over you.
Yeah.
And that feeling sucks.
Yeah.
Because then you have to be that guy again. You have to prove yourself that you're, I won't say who it is, but I was writing with this one guy, and we sat down and started talking, and I could just tell by the way he was talking to me
Yeah.
that he was like, I may have told you about this, right? I don't remember if I did or not.
I'm not sure.
But I could just tell that he had this thought in his mind of, I'm better than this guy because, and he probably is. He has numerous hits, but it really sucks when you can feel it.
Yeah.
When you can tell that that's how they think. This is completely off topic of what we're talking about, but something you said a minute ago made me think of a conversation we had last night. I was reading my Bible this morning, and remember how you said, if somebody broke into your home and hurt your wife or hurt your son or did something to somebody that you love, how you're supposed to turn around and act to that person. Like, how do you control your rage and not
How
just
do you forgive them?
yeah, how do you not just go completely
AWOL.
yeah. I'm trying to find other words than cuss words. I'm having to sit here and like
Ape.
look, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was reading my Bible this morning. I'm reading Romans right now. And I think it's Romans 8. I don't remember the exact verse. But it was talking about how God sacrificed his son to die. And we talk about the death of Jesus so much that I think it becomes, to some people, it becomes
Redundant.
and almost a little watered down.
Yeah. It loses its power.
Like it doesn't hold as much weight
Yeah.
as it should. But I was sitting there reading this morning and just having that conversation that we had last night on my mind. And God had a son that existed before he physically existed, before he was put into a man's body.
Mm-hmm.
He existed before that. And he went to his son and said, I'm going to send you down there. They're going to spit in your face. They're going to beat you. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to mock you. And
I'm going to let them do it.
I'm going to let them do it. And not only the willingness from a son to say, okay, I'll do it. I'll go. I will endure. What is that? How do you say that word?
Either way.
Yeah. I will go through 33 years of that because you told me to. I don't have that in me at all. But on the other side of that coin, God sent his son down here, and they did all of those things. They spit in his face, they mocked him, called him names, and beat him, made him carry a cross. Did all of these things that probably, if done to us, would probably kill us way before we made it to Calvary. And God's response to that was, I'm doing this so that I can forgive them, so that I can have grace for them.
Right.
And the barrier between the law and sin,
the veil,
it's torn. It's broken.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about that, and I was like, all of the things we talked about last night,
right in front of our face,
we're done. Was done to Jesus.
Yeah. And
the thing to do is what God did, and look at everybody and have grace and be like. Now there's a repentance that has to come with that too. Like that person has to be willing to repent.
Yeah.
And say, what I know I did was wrong, and I'm sorry, and it won't ever happen again. But there's people in the world that have never done that. There was years in my life that I didn't repent, and God still walked hand in hand with me until I got around to repenting and then meaning it. But we just don't hold. Maybe some people do. And I think that when pastors talk about forgiveness in church, I'm pretty guilty of this, but they'll talk about forgiveness and how it's the hardest thing in the world to do. And in my mind, I'm like, there's nobody I need to forgive. There's nobody that I hate. There's nobody that I am like just so angry at that I can't talk to them. There's people that I won't talk to because I know if I do, that opens a can of worms that I just don't want to be a part of. But the forgiveness that that I feel like pastors are talking about is the things that aren't happening today or didn't happen 10 months ago or a year ago. It's the things that when somebody does break into your house or somebody does steal your child or rape, murder, any of those things, you have to be willing to forgive that person.
Yep.
And I mean, just like we were talking about last night, I don't think that I'd be very good at doing it.
I think, and Morgan and I have talked about this, and I think, biblically, grounds for divorce is adultery, and going into like buying Morgan's ring and stuff, I had to I almost prepared myself to forgive her if she cheated on me one day.
Yeah.
Because God has done that for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I would want to.
Yeah.
And but who's to say if you have 3 or 4 kids or something like that happens and they're 12.
Yeah. There's a certain type
what you gonna do?
Yeah. There's a certain type of strength that I think you have to possess. And I haven't been married for long, but me and Katie have been together for a long time. And there's a certain type of independence that I feel like you have to get married and to say, worst case scenario, something bad happens and the person that I thought I'd be married to forever cheats on me. I feel like there has to be something in you that says, I won't be okay, but I will.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what, I'm going to be all right.
No matter what, yeah.
Yeah, if this person decides to do me wrong, I will still be...
Because you're not dependent on them, you're dependent on God and
you
know what He's doing.
Yeah, you're depending on God, and you're also depending on, He's an all-knowing God. And he knows what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, a month from now. I mean, like he already knows the battles that you're going to face. And there's a huge question as to why, okay, well, if that's the case, then how come he allows things to happen?
Yep.
And I don't have the answer for that. I don't think really anybody does, but there's also a little bit of free will in that to, you know, if you do get married to the wrong person and it wasn't who God intended for you to get married to, there's signs all along the way that you have to pay attention to. And there's also a little bit of the devil that sneaks into it. I mean, I've had these conversations with you where like the devil coming up to me and when me and Katie were getting married, you know, would whisper little things in my ear, be like, "Are you sure?
The imperfections, yeah.
Are you sure you want to do this?" And every single time that would happen, and I give credit to Jordan Rowe for kind of implanting this seed, I guess, if you will, in my head. You have to immediately acknowledge what it is. You have to immediately be able to say, those aren't my thoughts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thought from the devil. And I think it's something that I will pat myself on the back for the last years. I've been really good at hearing those whispers and being like, nope, that's not my thought. I didn't think that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the devil.
Yeah.
And I mean, like intrusive thoughts is that's a little,
Same thing.
it's a little bit of the same thing. And you got to be able to hear them and be like, is that something that I would say to myself? Is that how I would speak to myself? Is that how I would speak about this person? And if it's not, then it's not you.
Yeah.
It's not your thought.
Mm-hmm.
But there's people out there that don't know the difference and hear those thoughts. And that's why you have so much confusion in the world today.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, why am I thinking that?
Yep.
Why is that something that's being processed in it must be how I feel, must be how I think. And that's where the devil wants you. Because if you don't know any different,
I've been there, dude.
yeah, if you don't know any different, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, then that's me. That's the real me.
That's exactly how it goes. And you're right. That's exactly where he wants you.
Everybody has demons, but not everybody got Jesus.
Yeah. Dude,
That's the thing. Like, you got to know what sword to wield.
Yeah. Dude, I'm attacked all the time, man. I mean, I'm attacked in dreams. I'm attacked, like,
Same.
there's times, I've told you about this. I think I've told you about this, but this happens a good bit. I had a dream not too long ago. My grandma passed away 2 years ago. And in this dream, me and my family were at a Mexican restaurant. We were sitting down, eating dinner, and my grandma was there. And she wasn't saying anything. She was smiling. And I remember the feeling in the dream. I was like, oh, this is Nana coming and saying, hey, like this is her just being here. And kind of as the dream, went on, every time I would look at her, I would almost not recognize her. And she gets up from the table, walks away, and then in my bones, I was like, that wasn't her. I don't know who that was, but that wasn't her. And I got up and started following her, and she turned around, and I was like, who are you? Because you're not my grandma. And her skin like melted off of her. And this thing, it was just this black figure, and it said, I'm a child of Satan sent here to disturb. And it just ran off.
You see this right now, bro?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, it actually happened. And I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, I felt
it.
I felt it. It was in the room. It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. There was something in there that was not supposed to be there.
No, I've had similar.
And I have those dreams all of the time.
Same.
And I'll wake up, and you just have to, like, without waking Katie up, I'm like, Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Yeah, bro.
You are not welcome.
Yeah, bro.
You have to leave by the power of Christ. You have to go.
Dude.
And there's this lingering thing that hangs around for a minute. But after a little while, you feel it go away, and then you're able to go back to sleep.
Yep.
I feel like it happens definitely when you're in the Word a lot.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Bro. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it actually might have been you that brought this up at Bible study one time. That was like, I don't know if you said it or not. I think it was you. It's like, Actually, it might have been Justin Wilson. I don't know. Who cares? Anyways, he was talking about how like he'll wake up knowing that the devil's scared of him today because of whatever he might do.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah,
That was me.
And dude, like I've thought about that so many times since you said it because I feel that way. I talked to my dad about it. I talked to Sydney about it. I've talked about it so many times, and I'm like, dude, the closer I get, the more effort I put in, the more my temptations grew, the more that I hear those lies in my head, the more I start having anxious thoughts or negative thought, whatever it is, or tempted to do whatever. It's because he knows. He's like, oh man, I got to go harder now.
Yeah, I gotta beat the crap out
I've
of this
got to
dude
make
today.
sure he does not get any closer to God than he already is.
Yeah.
It's weird, bro, but to your point about waking up and saying like, Jesus is my Lord or whatever, my mom has struggled with a lot of those kind of dreams before. And she'd always tell me, like, I'll wake up and I just say Jesus' name over and over and over.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had it happen 3 different times just like that, where like one of them was so scary, bro, that like, dude, I thought I was going to have a panic attack.
Dude, I mean, I've literally I've heard, like, you don't audibly hear this voice in the room that's like, I'm the devil.
Yeah.
but you have like, you hear the whispers and they're louder. Yeah. They're louder than a thought. It's not a thought because you know what a thought feels like. You know what a thought sounds like. It's louder than that. And it's like, I'm here.
Dude, the majority of my dreams are nightmares. A nightmare.
I think they make medication for that.
Well, a nightmare is one
I'm just
thing,
kidding.
but the kind of dream you're talking about is not.
Yeah.
I have nightmares and I can wake up from them and be like, whatever. Those moments that I've had, those dreams, dog. Like, I had the same almost experience where I was in a dream. I was with 2 of my friends. We were walking on the street. Same thing. All 3 of us in the dream knew instantly, dude, there's something like really, really dark here right now. And I remember it freaking me out in the dream so much that I woke up and I opened my eyes. I'm in my bedroom. I knew for a fact I am not dreaming. And I saw the same all black figure over my bed, at the end of my bed. I was living in my sister's apartment at the time.
Yeah.
I knew for a fact I was screaming out loud, wide awake, for her to come in there and get me. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I couldn't move an inch, bro. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move a finger, and I'm yelling for her to come in there.
Yeah.
Dude, it came over my bed, grabbed my legs, and I'm talking like pinned me down on the bed.
Yeah.
I am freaking out, screaming. My eyes are wide open, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing.
I'm not in a different bedroom. I'm not in a different time zone. Like, everything's normal.
Yeah.
Dude, I started like just saying Jesus, 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 Jesus over and over and over until it finally was like, it was gone.
Yeah.
And when I was like, finally everything's normal, dude, my whole body was still like sore. I felt like my legs where his hands were there. It's the scariest thing ever, bro.
Yeah. I mean, dude, one of the things that, so I've got two things to say, but one thing is it's a story, but when you open that door, like even having this conversation opens that door.
I know.
And our friend Marty has a podcast that he likes to listen to called Blurry Creatures, and he's tried to get me to listen to it a few times, and I'm like, I'm not that is Pandora's box, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a way to deal with it, and there's a way to shake it off your back, but you're still opening that door.
I know.
And a couple years ago, well, this is when I still lived in Statesboro. I was probably 18 years old, maybe. And I didn't follow Jesus as closely then as I do now. And I came home. I was living with a guy named Skyler. And I came home and he was watching a documentary. And the documentary was about satanic rituals and all that crazy stuff. And I came in and I remember looking at the TV and I was like, bro, what are you watching? And he was a very nonchalant dude. And he was like, oh, dude, it's just a Netflix documentary, whatever. And that night I was laying in bed and I'd fell asleep. And I woke up and I felt like somebody had their hand over my mouth and like a hand pushing down on my chest. And just as audibly as me and you were sitting here talking to each other, I heard something say, I'm here. And same thing. I tried to get up and I couldn't. And finally it let go and I shot up and I left the house. I went and got in my truck and I rode dirt roads for hours. And I just didn't know how to deal with it back then. Obviously I do now. I don't jump in my truck and leave the house when that stuff happens now. But the other thing that what you were saying about the devil being scared of you is, I mean, it happened to me today, dude. He attacks me a lot through anxiety, and Tyler knows a lot about like my anxiety and just some of that stuff that I deal with. And it's been substantially better recently than it has in the past. But for me, what I've found that helps, like just like this morning, I woke up, I was in a great mood. I felt great. I was like, today's going to be a kick-ass day. I'm going to crush it. And kind of as the morning went on, I got a little tired. I was like, I'm not going to be tired today. It's all good. I'm fine. It's great. And I sat down and started eating breakfast. And the way that my anxiety works is it revolves a lot around my health. And I started feeling this thing like on the side of my neck, and like it was really just from, I mean, it's just your muscles moving in your neck or, you know, whatever. And I just told myself that. I was like, the devil is trying really hard to pin me down today, really hard. And all that is he knows. He knows that you're about to get up and you're about to get out and you're going to do something that fills you up mentally. For me, that's writing a song. You're going to find things that fill you up spiritually. I have a prayer book that I write in every single morning, and that's part of it. I was sitting there reading my Bible while this was happening.
Yeah.
And you have to have the mentality of when you start feeling those weird feelings and you just don't know what it is and you can't shake it, it's literally just the devil that he's trying to pin you down. That's how he gets people in addiction. That's how he gets people to be lazy. That's how he gives people anxiety attacks, panic attacks. None of that stuff. I mean, it is very real, but it's all from it's all a demonic. You know, my thing is specifically health. And when me and Tyler went on that ride retreat a couple months ago, I was having real bad stomach problems, and I thought it was cancer. I thought it was, I thought I had pancreatitis. I thought my kidneys were failing. I just went through the list of WebMD things that could have been wrong with me. And that's just how my brain works. You know, when something like that happens, I just kind of get in a weird, I think I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that's where he wants you, because when you think something bad's going to happen, you're depressed, you're anxious, your cup is not overflowing, therefore you're not pouring into others. And yeah, you just have to carry a cross around with you, and when that stuff starts happening, just pull it out and beat the devil off with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, beat the devil with the cross.
This was a solid episode.
That should be the name of this episode, is Beat the Devil with a Cross.
This was good, dude. This is
sick.
We jumped in a lot of topics that we haven't got to do yet, which was great. A lot of music business stuff, and even this side of the Christian stuff. We haven't talked about anything like this yet. This is good.
Yeah. I think that it's not something a lot of people talk about. I mean, there's a process tonight that even just us sitting here talking about it, opening that door, I'll have to go home and like.
Oh, I've already thought about it.
It's a cleansing thing. Like you have to go home and you have to shut the door. You have to be like, we talked about it, we gave acknowledgement to it, and that's all the devil needs is to be. He just needs to be acknowledged, and he can do so much with just being acknowledged.
We'll pray about it before we get off here.
Yeah.
Let's do that real quick.
You want to run it?
Sure.
You want to close it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for giving us the ability to do this and just come together in your name and talk about things that are on our hearts and things that we feel like need to be said, Lord. We thank you for this weather that we have. We thank you for the ability to write songs, the ideas that you give us, the camaraderie that we have in this room, and just everything, Lord. I pray for Brian and for Jasper and myself tonight. God, I pray for protection over our minds and our hearts, and that you wouldn't give the devil any room, that you would just block him out, shut the door closed, and make sure that we're safe with you tonight, God. And thank you for GodDog. Thank you for Brian. Thank you for Jasper. And thank you for our listeners and for Jesus. In his name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Heck yeah, boys.
See you later, alligators.
GodDog.
GodDog.